like to call to order the April 4th meeting of the Clearwater City Council. Our invocation this evening will be offered by Dr. Rhonda Blevins from Chapel by the Sea, and our Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Mr. Hamilton. Pastor, come forward.
Let us pray. Holy One, known by many names and beyond all names, Spirit of life, Spirit of love, Spirit of community, Spirit of justice, we ask your blessings on the people who have been called to lead the community in which we live and work and play, and upon all who gather here because they care. Help each of us be ready learners, eager to listen to one another with a spirit of openness and compassion. Help each of us rise above what passes for political discourse into your higher way that seeks a common good. Keep us mindful of those who have no voice, those who live in the margins, our children, the elderly, the poor, those who are hungry, those who have no homes, those who are ill in body, mind, or spirit, the strangers and immigrants in our midst. Open our hearts and minds to those society so easily forgets. Grant us the wisdom and courage to know and do what is right and good and true. And may we speak out when it is time to speak out, and listen patiently and receptively when it is time to listen. May we be guided by the spirit of community, by the spirit of justice, and by the spirit of love. This we pray in the name of all that we hold sacred and holy, all that we hold good and right and true. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pastor, thank you for joining us this evening. We appreciate your service to our community and especially Chapel by the Sea. Thank you, ma'am. Let me remind you, if you have a cell phone or other device, to please silence it so that it doesn't go off during our meeting. And when someone is speaking, we respectfully ask that you show them the same courtesy that you would want to be shown if you were speaking, whether you agree or disagree with the person speaking. To my right is Councilmember Jay Poglaze.
Good evening.
Councilmember Bob Cundiff.
Hi, folks.
Our city manager is traveling today and not with us. In his place is our deputy city manager, Jill Silverboard.
Good evening.
And our assistant city manager, Micah Maxwell.
Good evening.
To my left is Councilmember Dave Albritton.
Good evening.
Councilmember Hoyt Hamilton.
Good evening.
Our city attorney, Pam Aiken.
Good evening.
And our city clerk, Rosemary Call. With that, our first order of business is to recognize Civitan Awareness Month. I would like to call for the members of the Civitan of Clearwater Club that are present, and Amy Monfrey. Is Amy here? Yeah, there you go. To come forward so we can receive a proclamation.
Can you speak a little bit louder, Mr. Mayor?
It's like, I thought I sounded pretty, they'll check the volume. Please come. Whereas Civitan International is a worldwide association of community service clubs whose missions emphasize helping people with developmental disabilities, and whereas Civitan International was founded in Birmingham, Alabama, and has chapters in 48 countries, is celebrating its 102nd anniversary, and whereas the Civitan International Research Center at the University of Alabama in Birmingham is making great progress in combating autism, Rett syndrome, Down syndrome, traumatic brain injuries, and other neurological disorders. And whereas since 1952, Clearwater Civitans have provided assistance to various programs such as the Calvin A. Huntsinger and Paul B. Stevens Schools, the Challenger Baseball Little League, the Homeless Empowerment Program, the YMCA, and the Salvation Army. Now therefore, I, George Creticus, Mayor of the City of Clearwater, on behalf of the Clearwater City Council, do hereby proclaim April 2019 to be Civitan Awareness Month in Clearwater. Thank you all very much for all the service that y'all do for our youth and throughout the community. Please go say hello to the council.
Thank you. Watch your step.
Good to see you guys.
Doing good?
Doing good?
Keep up the good work. Thank you so much. Be careful down there.
How are you, sir? Keep up the good work.
Watch your step.
Watch your step right there.
Thanks.
That'll get fixed soon. Thanks.
Thank you for everything.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks so much.
We have good insurance.
Thanks a lot.
Stood up and told us, and this man's wife ran the program.
Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you again.
Thanks again. Okay, see ya. Now I would like to call forward Rick Osorio from our Risk Management Department and his team for Work Zone Safety Awareness Week. Whereas the City of Clearwater is committed to maintaining safe roadways throughout the community, and whereas because work zones are established during the time of road inspections and repairs to protect those workers involved in roadway beautification, construction, and maintenance, and whereas law enforcement and first responders, utility and stormwater technicians, surveyors, and school crossing guards also risk their lives working on the city's roads, and whereas it is imperative for drivers to proceed at a safe speed, to be alert, to avoid distractions, and to acknowledge the presence of workers doing their job on the city's roads. Now therefore, I, George N. Creticus, Mayor of the City of Clearwater, on behalf of the Clearwater City Council, do hereby proclaim April the 8th to the 12th, 2019, to be Work Zone Safety Awareness Week in the City of Clearwater, to raise awareness for the need of driving safely in work zones in all of our roadways. Gentlemen.
Thanks, Melvin. Appreciate it.
All the workers get the mail.
One of those from my place. Hey, Rick.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Good job, Rick.
Thank you.
Let's see if this is a little better. Is it a little better?
I hear you.
Okay, yeah, you're right here. Next on is to ask David Imaka, the Executive Director of Neighborly Care, to please come forward. And he has a presentation for us, Council. Hey, David.
Well, thanks for having me. My last name is actually Lomaka, Lomaka, not the I. Easily misinterpreted on a business card, so there's no feelings are hurt. I want to take just a minute to talk a little bit about Neighborly. I don't even know if most of you know about Neighborly. A lot of people don't. People think about Meals on Wheels. Meals on Wheels is Neighborly. Neighborly's been around for 53 years. It's the first federally approved Meals on Wheels provider in the United States. I was born right in St. Pete. Neighborly was the first adult daycare center in the United States. Both really impressive things to have that we have as we work for federal funding. Neighborly serves today 3,000 senior citizens, folks who are alone, isolated, unable to get out, homebound, without an opportunity for a meal. There's currently about 1,000 people on a waiting list for a meal in Pinellas County alone, waiting for one meal. Our work with Area Agency on Aging and Department of Elder Affairs up in Tallahassee generates some funding to provide for hot meals for folks. But there's still a significant need that we're making it work on frozen meals and working with municipalities like Clearwater and like every other city in the community to garner some public support to help provide some of those frozen meals that we do for our consumers that are still waiting for that meal. Neighborly does transportation. Today we'll transport about 2,000 people in the county. We work closely with PSTA, and I know there's a number of issues. I know there's some committees. that are going on, and that Neighborly's offered to work closer with PSTA and help pick up people with some of the routes that have closed. Neighborly's daycare sites are in 3 different locations, one in Largo, one in Palm Harbor, and one right by the Clearwater Airport. There'll soon to be a 4th location in St. Petersburg for adult daycare. There's close to 100 people coming daily, first with significant Alzheimer's disease, dementia diseases, physical impairments that are not allowing them to, they otherwise couldn't be at home with caregivers. So we literally serve them from 8:30 in the morning until 2:30 every day, to allowing that to happen. All of those things happen with a lot of support of the community. Again, like anything else, like any other nonprofit, funding is always limited in where it comes from. So the federal government has limits on everything, and they just had layers of bureaucracy. So instead of licking our wounds, we go out and we generate new funds, and we do new partnerships. We find new fundraisers, new activities that we do. So we're very much a part of the Clearwater community. We are in the, and I'm forgetting the name of the facility on Martin Luther King, just north of Sunset Point. It's North Greenwood. North Greenwood. We have, we're there every day of the week doing 50 people approximately coming in for a hot meal during the day. It's their one time to get out, to interact with other individuals, other seniors. We provide the transportation to get them there, we provide the meal, and we return them home. We're growing those programs all the time. Neighborly has 650 volunteers, which is a pretty big number for when you think about a lot of nonprofits that come through. We have 650. Without those, who deliver most of the meals, without those we couldn't do it. Our reimbursement for a meal is somewhere between $3 and $7. So if you take all of it into account, including making, purchasing, and then delivering the meals, it would be impossible for any community to do. So our community has stepped up. And today, in coming here and just making you aware of some of the services, what's more important is the need for volunteers. And I know the city has a very active volunteer development program, and that need for volunteers is huge for us, because that's what allows us, if those 1,000 people, if we come up with funding for that, I need another 650 people to help those meals get delivered. Because our volunteers give us just a couple hours. They might do from 11 to 1, deliver 15, 20 meals, do it for 2 hours and be done for the day. But as you all know, driving around this community, having them do 2 routes and something is stuff they don't want to do and volunteer. Nobody wants to volunteer to drive in Pinellas County. So we need to really step up kind of that end of our business. Again, that's a real brief overview. The transportation, the daycare, the home meals, the dining sites. We're always looking for new partnerships. So even in your travels, if you think of a great location and something we could do that meet the needs kind of in a food desert area, we'd be happy to come there and develop another site, because those are very easy to do, and we want to have them as a part, kind of like Neighborly's name. We'd like to have a little dining site in all the neighborhoods so people come where their neighbors come, so we don't have to drive them 20 miles. So those are the kind of things we're looking for. We look for volunteers, we look for, of course, funding, and we look for locations, and we look for awareness. So when the city hears somebody can't get a ride somewhere, think of, you should have got a little rat card we passed around, have them call Neighborly, because we'll take any senior, anybody over 60, or anybody over the age of 60, we're able to pick up and deliver anywhere in the county. So I thank you. I don't know if you have any questions, Mayor, but thank you for your time today. And my meeting was a meet and greet with the mayor, and just to come and say hi, as I'm new in my role, also only here since September. So hopefully we could answer questions, or anything you have in the future, please reach out to me.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much for being with us.
Okay, thanks.
And now we have Ed Sherwood, who is the director of the Tampa Bay Estuary Program.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I appreciate you taking the time to hear me give an update on the Tampa Bay Estuary Program. This is a program that the city of Clearwater contributes towards each year, and I just wanted to give you a brief update on some of the projects we're involved with. So, the Tampa Bay Estuary Program is one of 28 programs designated by Congress as an estuary of national significance. We were founded in 1991 through that designation, and since that time, through a special interlocal agreement that we have with 3 of the major cities and 4 counties surrounding the Tampa Bay watershed, we've developed this partnership that leverages federal funds with local funds. So, as I mentioned, we have on our policy board Councilman Cundiff at this time, representing the city of Clearwater, but we also have representatives from the city of Tampa, city of St. Pete, and then Pasco, Manatee, Hillsborough, and Pinellas counties, as well as the Water Management District, EPA, and DEP from the state. So our mission is to develop these partnerships and really get the Bay back on track through implementation of different projects that we've outlined in a comprehensive management plan that we affectionately call Charting the Course. So this was just recently updated in 2017, and it's, as I mentioned, fairly comprehensive, but it's tailored towards 3 broad themes that we try to achieve each year through the funding received from both the federal and local governments. So namely, one is making cleaner waters and sediments throughout Tampa Bay, improving the habitat so that wildlife can thrive within the bay, and then better informing and engaging citizens on bay stewardship and restoration activities. So in total, there's about 166 specific activities that are lumped into these 3 broad themes, but it's a fairly comprehensive plan, and we're always looking for funding and partnerships to help achieve that. And we do that by leveraging a lot of different funding sources. So the City of Clearwater annually contributes about $17,000 to our annual operating expenses each year. And over the past 3 years, that totals about $50K. So that sliver there up in the top right of that pie chart is what has been contributed by Clearwater for the past 3 years. And as you can see, we've leveraged about $16.2 million in total from various funding sources that include our federal appropriations to the SRA program, as well as other state grants, as well as regional grants, and then other local city and county contributions. And in total, we're a staff of 6, so we're a small but mighty crew, and we're managing a lot of different projects that, again, are trying to get the Bay back on track. So, this is a taste of some of the current projects that we're involved in. We're working with FWC to actually restore oysters and other shellfish populations in Old Tampa Bay to hopefully reduce the algal blooms that persistently occur in the summertime months each year. We're working with NASA to develop some modeling to understand the nitrogen loads that are going into the Tampa Bay watershed on a more real-time basis. We're working on social marketing campaigns to better engage residents that might have failing private laterals, to better maintain those or potentially replace those in the future. So it runs the gamut from technical projects all the way to engaging the community through other social marketing campaigns. And then one of the better things we're known for is facilitating and being honest broker for a group called the Nitrogen Management Consortium. You have staff here represented, Sarah Kessler and Dave Porter, who sit on the Nitrogen Management Consortium representing the City of Clearwater. And these are interests, permitted interests throughout the Tampa Bay watershed that have a nitrogen load responsibility to the bay. And those nitrogen loads affects the algal abundance and clarity of the water quality in Tampa Bay. And through their efforts since the mid-1990s, they've implemented over 470 projects that have reduced nitrogen loads to Tampa Bay. And as a result, we've recovered seagrasses back to historic levels. And that's pretty unprecedented for an urban estuary. And it's something to pat yourselves all on our backs. And we've recently received some fairly prestigious awards through some Coastal Estuarine Research Federation groups that recognize our efforts nationally and as well as globally. So other things we also are able to do as a program, we are also able to leverage additional funding that we receive from each of the municipal governments as well as private donors. So we have some private funding coming from industries as well as private foundations that help support additional activities to improve water quality, fish and habitat, and wildlife throughout Tampa Bay. And since about 2013, we've been able to garner about $6 million in extra external funding to help support about 55 projects to, again, help restore those marsh mangrove habitats, oyster bars throughout Tampa Bay, and also supply additional funding sources toward outreach and education projects. Some of you might have noticed on cars driving around town, the green tarpon tag. That is actually, if you purchase that tarpon tag, the first year it costs you $27. Every subsequent year you renew, it's $17. But that funding goes towards another community-based grant program that we administer called the Tampa Bay Bay Mini Grant Program. And since its inception in the late 1990s, we've been able to fund about 370 community-based projects, and these are funding projects at about $5,000 per year. So we're able to fund projects proposed by Clearwater Aquarium, Clearwater Audubon Society. This year we're actually funding a project for the Florida Aquarium that will hopefully educate folks on the impacts of red tides in our community and sort of the environmental and economic impacts that we've seen over this past year. So again, these are community outreach and community-focused grant program that we administer through our staff as well. And then I think Neighborly spoke about volunteerism. We also run a weekend volunteer give a day for the day program. So this is asking volunteers to come out to, a lot of times, municipal parks to help clean up, either remove trash, remove exotics from some of these sites throughout Tampa Bay, or work on specific restoration projects like planting marsh grasses at different public accessible parks and areas throughout the watershed. So if you're interested, we have a couple coming up in Pinellas County, but we always love to work with city staff and the parks staff to find new opportunities to come out and help out and clean up of some of the park areas throughout the city of Clearwater. So I spoke real fast. I know your agenda was pretty slam-packed, so I just wanted to give you that brief update, but we do sincerely appreciate the City of Clearwater's both participation in a lot of the working groups, committees that we have formed through the Tampa Bay Estuary Program, as well as a lot of the funding that you've provided over the year, because I think it's accomplished a lot of great things for the Tampa Bay Estuary. We're now, as I mentioned, one of the more cleaner urbanized estuaries, not only in the nation, but globally, and that's really unprecedented. You see a lot of more degradation in other places. We're actually reversing that course and actually seeing improvements. So with that, I appreciate your time, and I would be happy to take any questions that you might have about the Tampa Bay Estuary.
Well, thank you, Mr. Sherwood, and we appreciate Mr. Cundiff serving on the board with you. This is you're relatively new, right?
Yeah, I started actually last February, replacing Holly Greening,
Right.
who was executive director for about 10 years. I worked as the science staff under Holly during that
Very
time.
Good.
He's been there the entire, because he was there when I served in 12.
Yes.
You've been there a long time.
Yep.
Just now he's the big shot.
Yeah. But before that, Congressman Young and Congressman Gibbons were the two congressmen who helped get the funding to make sure that the estuary program was included in the federal dollars. So we appreciate those gentlemen's efforts.
Absolutely. And we continue to encourage the federal government to consider additional funds towards our place-based program.
Right. Thank you very much. Appreciate your being here.
Thank you.
Our next order of business is to see if anybody would, to approve the minutes of March the 21st. Are there any addition or corrections to the minutes of March the 21st?
Move approval of the minutes as submitted.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the minutes of March the 21st. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Anybody from the public wishing to speak to an item that is not on the agenda today? If so, please come forward at this time. You would have 3 minutes to speak. We ask that you have a card filled out with the clerk, and you give us your name.
My name's Lisa Lanza. I filled a card out. I think it's 4 questions. If last Friday, which the city, the Community Redevelopment Agency, and the Downtown Development Board pay Ruth Eckerd, they have a contract with Ruth Eckerd, and I'm not sure, but I think it's like $100,000. You can correct that if it's incorrect. We pay them to put on Blast Friday, on the 4th Friday of the month, and this is primarily an event to bring people to downtown Cleveland Street to help promote sales for the downtown businesses. So I was kind of surprised last week at Blast Friday when I saw that Ruth Eckerd Hall Experience on the Road had a kiosk on Cleveland Street, and they were selling beer and wine, and there was a long line. So I was kind of surprised. Why is Ruth Eckerd Hall selling beer and wine on the street? I thought the whole idea was for people to go into the restaurants. I'm sure there's a reason. I don't understand the rationale. That's why I'm asking. And then the other couple of questions about whether the city, the Community Redevelopment Agency, and the Downtown Development Board, if they were required to issue an RFP for Blast Friday. And if they were required to issue an RFP, did Ruth Eckerd Hall apply for that RFP, and then that's how they got it? I haven't, let's see. The other question is Ruth Eckerd Hall on the road, which is primarily a booking or a promoting agency, is it a separate entity from the Ruth Eckerd Hall as we know it, the building out on McMullen Booth Road? Or is it, is it funded differently? Is it organized differently? Is it a different business entity? So those are my questions about Ruth Eckerd Hall on the road and Cleveland Street and how they get their money, and if there was an RFP issued, and if they applied for the RFP, and how could I get that information? And another thing, I just added this after I saw the speaker. I love the Tampa Bay Estuary Program, and I'm wondering, and we give $50,000 to the Tampa Bay Estuary Program, but has the city considered finding a leader or an organization to so that we can have a Clearwater Bay or Clearwater Harbor Estuary Program? Because from what I'm told, there was a time when you could scallop and the bay was full of fish and clams, and it's dead now. So thank you.
Anybody else from the public wishing to speak to an item that is not on the agenda?
Good evening, my name is Ann Garris, and I want to talk about one of my hot things that I have loved for a long time here in Clearwater, about our garden, our park on the bay. The city, in its wisdom, decided they were going to ask the leaders, present and past, hopefully some future, to come together and bring up the ideas they had about what we should do with our beautiful bayfront.
Ms. Garris, I believe that is on the agenda for later
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I believe that is on the agenda for later this evening, so your comments
really?
will have to be, if you're
I
talking
shall
about
return.
Coachman Park and the green and the
sorry.
amphitheater. Anybody else from the public wishing to speak to an item not on the agenda?
Good evening. My name is Sabrina Maud, and I go to St. Petersburg College. And I kind of just wanted to shed light on an issue that we are facing called light pollution. And it is the brightening of the night sky, which is caused by the streetlights and other man-made sources. It has a disruptive effect on natural cycles, and it prevents us from being able to observe the night sky as it truly is. So if you were to go out at night right now and look at the sky, you wouldn't see as many stars as you normally would be able to if we didn't use so many night lights outside and everything. And some negative impacts that it has on us is that it can affect our health, it can affect our wildlife, and it can affect our agriculture and our trees and everything. And some solutions that we could try are only using the outdoor lights. Like if you have a porch light, maybe you can just shut it off when you're not using it, using low ground lights, and also just spreading word about the issue. That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. Good luck with your studies. Anybody else from the public wishing to speak to an item not on the agenda?
Yes, first of all, I live on Clearwater Beach. You need my name, right?
Just your name, yes.
Rosaria J. Hinkle. Yes. I go by Sarah, actually. I wanted to say to everybody, I appreciate all the parking. It's in regards to Clearwater Beach parking, and I do appreciate all the wonderful parking that the city has provided, that we now have on Clearwater Beach. I mean, it is really a big improvement. It's been a marvelous job that people have done to help us. But the main issue I have today is it has just developed in this recent month, and I live on the north end of Clearwater Beach. I'm a resident there. And I do utilize the library and the programs that they have there at the library. And, all the things the swimming pool is there and the tennis courts. And also they have the boats ramp. We have a boat ramp that people utilize all the time, and they also have a ferry that stops there. So our patrons of the library and the recreation center and the pool and the other things that we use, the tennis courts and the basketball courts, and the bocce ball, all the other things, we use the parking there a lot. Well, within the last month, we have had parking along the seawall next to the boats ramp, which was great, because some of the times we go and there's events that are going on, or there are programs, and like if we have a yoga class and we decide to go to the library, it takes, more than a couple of hours, because, we get to talking and blah, blah, blah. So what happened was the city is utilizing that parking lot now for the city vehicles, and they just eliminated us to use that lot, and they gave us, I think, 11 or 12 parking places with a 2-hour limit. So that 2-hour limit is what I have a problem with, and what all the patrons have a problem with, because sometimes we run over and we're afraid we're going to get a ticket, and we don't like tickets. And the rest of the parking lot is $1.25 an hour. So if we start a program and then have to quit that program and go out and move our car to a metered spot, then, kind of interrupts everything. So this is my main issue about it. But the facility has been so great.
Thank you, ma'am. Your time is up.
Okay, I think everybody's got the idea anyway.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much for listening to me, and I thank you council people very much.
My name is John Brushwood, and I'm here as part of my capstone project in the Public Policy and Administration course at St. Pete College. My project is to create a feasibility study for the implementation of single-member districts to Clearwater City Council. First, I'd like to thank the mayor, city attorney, and city manager, many citizen groups and leaders for meeting with me to discuss my topic. I'll not be able to give the full report during this 3-minute segment. On April 15, I will present my full and complete report to a panel at St. Pete College. And after that, I'd be very happy to share that with everyone who I spoke with and anyone else who is interested in viewing my report. Although my report attempts to remain unbiased when it comes to the choice of at-large versus single-member districts, I did collect some pieces of interesting information that I'd like to share. I completed a live dial telephone survey of registered Clearwater voters who voted in the last municipal election. One of the most interesting data points is that 80% of all those respondents that I spoke to had a favorable view of single-member districts. Also of interest, over 2/3 of those respondents, stated that they believe that the current city council represents Clearwater citizens fairly and equally. Also, my research shows that there are trade-offs between the two systems, that at-large districts have historically favored gender diversity, while single-member districts have favored racial diversity among city council members. That at-large districts often favor a holistic approach to decision-making for council members, while single-member districts favor a more parochial view and can encourage the practice of log rolling. And that single-member districts could lower the monetary threshold required for citizens to run for office, thereby allowing more citizens to have the means to run a successful campaign. While I'm not going to make a recommendation for at-large or single-member districts, I will conclude with some recommendations. The first is that there should be a larger survey than the one I was able to conduct, because the favorability of single-member districts being as high as 80% leads me to believe that I either had too small of a sample size or that there is a very large support for that proposal. The second is that while I've heard many citizens request greater access to the council, I actually heard no citizens complain about the decisions that they make. So that leads me to believe that more citizens should attempt to, I would encourage citizens to come to engage city council, and those of us who are familiar and frequent city council to seek out those who rarely come here and engage with them. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to address you, and I'd like to share my report on April 15th.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak to an item not on the agenda? If not, I will close public comment and ask if anybody from the public or council would want to pull an item off the consent agenda, items 7.1 through 7.16.
7.18.
7.18. 7.1 through 7.18.
Motion to approve agenda items 7.1 through 7.18.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the consent agenda, items 7.1 through 7.18. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Agenda item 8.1.
Approve the request from the owner of property addressed as 1416 Leo Lane East to vacate a 10-foot by 75-foot portion of the platted utility easement lying in Lot 32, Skycrest Greens Edition, as recorded in Plat Book 69, page 6 of the Public Records of Pinellas County, Florida, and pass ordinance 9265-19 on first reading. Mr. Schober.
Good evening, I'm Ellen Schober, the Stormwater Manager for the City of Clearwater. The homeowner requested a vacating of a 10 by 75 section of the utility easement in the rear of their property, so the pool and pool deck will not be encumbered by the easement. There are no city utilities located within the easement, and staff has no objections to this vacation.
Questions for staff on agenda item 8.1? Anybody from the public to speak to agenda item 8.1?
Move approval of agenda item 8.1. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve agenda item 8.1. Comments, council? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Ms. Aiken.
Ordinance number 9265-19, an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, vacating a 10 by 75-foot portion of a platted utility easement lying in Lot 32, Skycrest Greens Edition, as recorded in Plat Book 69, page 6 of the Public Records of Pinellas County, Florida, lying in northeast one quarter of Section 11, Township 29 South, Range 15 East, Pinellas County, Florida, providing an effective date.
Move to pass ordinance 9265-19 on first reading.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to pass ordinance 9265-19 on first reading. Comments, council? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Agenda item 8.2.
Declare surplus for conveyance to the City of Clearwater Community Redevelopment Agency certain real property located at 115 South Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue for redevelopment purposes. Mr. Schober.
This property was purchased by the city in 2003. The CRA's request this property be declared surplus for transfer to the CRA. The CRA's intent is to sell this parcel, the one to the east, currently owned by the CRA, for redevelopment purposes.
Any questions of staff on agenda item 8.2? Anybody from the public to speak to agenda item 8.2?
Move approval of agenda item 8.2. Oh.
I just wanted to know.
Need your name,
My name's
please.
Lisa Alonso, but I didn't get a card, but I will. When you is this what's called surplusing a property and then giving it? Is that the process? You call it surplusing a property and then you're transferring it to the CRA? Okay. So now it's going. Now once it goes to the CRA, how long does it stay there? And then does the plan? Do you already have a plan to develop it?
Thank you, ma'am. Any other comments?
Then once it goes to the CRA and it is developed, for how many do they then not? They start paying taxes to the city once it's sold to a private entity, right? So when it goes to the CRA, well, it's not paying they're not paying taxes anyway because the city owns it. Then it goes to the CRA, and again, there's like no taxes, paid property taxes. But the goal is to have a private entity buy it, develop it, and then put it back in the tax rolls. That's the process. Thank you. I just wanted to confirm that. I'm learning.
Anybody else in the public to speak to agenda item 8.2?
Move approval of agenda item 8.2.
Again, let me ask if you have a device that goes off, to please silence it. Motion's been made and seconded to approve agenda item 8.2. Comments, council? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Agenda item 8.3.
Declare surplus for conveyance to the City of Clearwater Community Redevelopment Agency certain real property located at the southwest corner of Prospect Avenue and Park Street, legally described as Tract 3 of the plat, Mediterranean Village in the Park, as recorded in Plat Book 125, pages 44 through 46 of the Public Records of Pinellas County, Florida, for redevelopment purposes. Mr. Schoberg again.
The city acquired this property back in 1999 when we were working on developing the Prospect Lake project. We didn't end up utilizing it. The CRA's requested the property be declared surplus and transferred to the CRA for the current appraised value. This CRA intends to issue an RFP to seek redevelopment of this parcel.
Any questions of staff on agenda item 8.3? Anybody from the public to speak to agenda item 8.3?
Motion to approve agenda item 8.3.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve agenda item 8.3. Comments, council? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Agenda item 8.4.
Declare surplus for conveyance to the City of Clearwater Community Redevelopment Agency certain real property located at the southwest corner of Cleveland Street and South Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue, legally described as the north 282.5 feet of the east 50 feet of Block 5, according to the plat of Sarah McMullen subdivision, as recorded in Plat Book 1, page 41, Public Records of Pinellas County, Florida, together with all of that part of the west 90 feet of the east 110 feet of the northwest 1/4 of the northwest 1/4 of Section 15, Township 29 South, Range 15 East, which lies between eastwardly projections of the north and south boundaries of the part of said Block 5, thus defined, less and except any road rights-of-way. Mr. Schoberg.
The city acquired this land as part of multi-property land swap in 2018. CRA has requested this be declared surplus, and their current plans are to utilize the property for public parking to support downtown redevelopment.
Any questions of staff on agenda item 8.4? Anybody from the public to speak to agenda item 8.4?
Move approval of agenda item 8.4.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve agenda item 8.4. Comments, council? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Agenda item 9.1 is a second reading. Ms. Call.
Ordinance number 9237-19, an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, annexing certain real property located on the south side of Johns Parkway, approximately 400 feet west of South Bayshore Boulevard, whose post office address is 3143 Johns Parkway, Clearwater, Florida, 33759, into the corporate limits of the city and redefining the boundary lines of the city to include said addition, providing an effective date.
Move to adopt ordinance 9237-19 on second reading.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adopt ordinance 9237-19 on second reading. Anybody from the public speak to this motion? Comments, council? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Ms. Aiken.
Ordinance number 9238-19, an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, amending the future land use element of the comprehensive plan of the city to designate the land use for certain real property located on the south side of Johns Parkway, approximately 400 feet west of South Bayshore Boulevard. This post office address is 3143 Johns Parkway, Clearwater, Florida, 33759, upon annexation into the City of Clearwater as residential urban RU, providing an effective date.
I move that we adopt ordinance 9238-19 on second reading.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adopt ordinance 9238-19 on second reading. Anybody from the public speak to this motion? Comments, council? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Ms. Call.
Ordinance number 9239-19, an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, amending the zoning atlas of the city by zoning certain real property located on the south side of Johns Parkway, approximately 400 feet west of South Bayshore Boulevard, This post office address is 3143 Johns Parkway, Clearwater, Florida, 33759. Upon annexation to the City of Clearwater's low medium density residential LMDR, providing an effective date.
Motion to adopt ordinance 9239-19 on second reading.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adopt ordinance 9239-19 on second reading. Anybody from the public speak to this motion? Comments, council? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Ms. Aiken.
Ordinance number 9240-19, an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, annexing certain unaddressed real property located approximately 820 feet south of Gulf to Bay Boulevard between 2991 Gulf to Bay Boulevard and Old Tampa Bay in Clearwater, Florida, 33759 into the corporate limits of the city and redefining the boundary lines of the city to include said addition, providing an effective date.
I move that we adopt ordinance 9240-19 on second reading.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adopt ordinance 9240-19 on second reading. Anybody from the public speak to this motion?
Oh, Lisa Lanza. Is this the same property that was along Tampa Bay, and it had a zoning on it, preservation, and then it was being submerged land, and then it was being rezoned to something else? Because that was, I think, on. Is this land? I'll just because I know it was on you discussed it at a previous meeting. But I don't know if it's exactly this, but as I'm looking at it, and it's saying 820 feet south Gulf to Bay, between Gulf to Bay and Old Tampa Bay. So is this submerged land on Tampa Bay? Yes, it is. Okay, Mr. Hamilton.
Old Tampa Bay.
Pardon?
It's Old Tampa Bay.
Right, but in the previous, could you explain what the zoning change actually is from what to what? Because it doesn't say here, but I think in a previous meeting you had, I believe this was the property, and you were changing it from preservation to, shouldn't you tell us what the zoning change, what the change?
This is not a zoning change, it's an annexation.
Okay. I guess it's the next one then, 9.6. I guess that'll be next. That's the zoning change. Okay, 9.6, I'll be back.
Motion's been made and seconded to adopt ordinance 9240-19 on second reading. Comments, council? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Agenda item 9.5.
Ordinance number 9241-19, an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, amending the future land use elements of the comprehensive plan of the city to designate the land use for certain unaddressed real property located approximately 820 feet south of Gulf to Bay Boulevard between 2991 Gulf to Bay Boulevard and Old Tampa Bay in Clearwater, Florida, 33759, upon annexation to the City of Clearwater as US 19 Regional Center, US 19-RC, and water, providing an effective date.
Move to adopt ordinance 9241-19, is that the right one? Yes. On second reading.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adopt ordinance 9241-19 on second reading. Anybody from the public speak to this motion? Comments, council? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Agenda item 9.6, Ms. Aiken.
Ordinance number 9242-19, an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, amending the zoning atlas of the city by zoning certain unaddressed real property located approximately 820 feet south of Gulf to Bay Boulevard between 2991 Gulf to Bay Boulevard and Old Tampa Bay in Clearwater, Florida, 33759, upon annexation into the City of Clearwater as US 19, and Preservation P districts, providing an effective date.
I move that we adopt ordinance 9242-19 on second reading.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adopt ordinance 9242-19 on second reading. Anybody from the public to speak to this motion?
Okay, Lisa Lanza, so I heard you say from preservation to what? Attorney Aiken?
It is from preservation, let's see, it is going from US 19 and preservation P.
Okay, it was preservation and it's going to,
It's staying preservation.
Staying preservation.
Part of, the upland part is going to the US 19, in the US 19 development area. The wetland area, the water area is preservation.
okay, from what I remember from previous meetings, you know, the plan there is to develop it. So I know you just put out a new FEMA ordinance or something, and I haven't seen the city using any of the stormwater funding to buy lands that are within the floodplain, and this one appears to be within the floodplain. I just see the city continuing to develop properties, like there's one near Stevenson Creek, which looks completely out of whack from the neighborhood. That someone's been allowed to put a condominium complex in there with 2-car garages. You can barely go around the corner, and it's, you know, not far from Stevenson Creek. So way back when I was on the Clearwater Environmental Advisory Board, our mandate at that time when the committee was started was to use the stormwater fee, which was new in the 1990s. It was only $3 a month, and now I think it's over 14. But the mandate was to use some of that money to buy lands in floodplain, and I really just haven't seen it. And yet, there's this all this machination with FEMA, and there's a flood committee and new ordinance, but yet I don't see the city looking at these properties in the floodplain, which apparently this one is. And I assume this one on Tampa Bay is going to be pretty expensive. But the fact that it's in a floodplain, that we are all subsidizing flood insurance. And I live at 78 altitude. I've lived there for 40 years. I mean, I don't need flood insurance, and many of us don't, but we are subsidizing all this building and the subsidy of flood insurance. So, again, you could be looking out for our interests so that we're not, there may be a day when the federal government may decide they're not going to subsidize flood insurance anymore, and then what's going to happen? So I would urge you to look for properties in the floodplain when they come available and buy at least one, because you haven't bought one in a long time. Thank you.
Anybody else from the public wishing to speak?
I think Mr. Hamilton wants to address it.
Well, what you're not understanding is this property is not available for purchase. This is the existing property owner annexing into the city. They're not looking to sell their property, so we can't buy something that's not for sale.
But you can control the development on it. So that's part two.
He also has development rights to it, so.
Well, I know you support development rights. I realize that. They should always come out on the side of private property.
Thank you, ma'am. Your time is up.
Thank you.
Anybody else from the public to speak to agenda item 9.6 in the motion? Comments, council?
Mr. Mayor, I should mention that this is not Old Tampa Bay, but west of the Bayside Bridge.
Well, the map shows that it's
South
Old.
of the Gulf.
The map shows that it's Old Tampa Bay.
It's still Old Tampa Bay.
So this is south of the west. I learned something. I love learning new things.
And for our citizens' information, the federal government runs the flood insurance program. If they should stop the subsidy on the flood insurance program, then your flood insurance rates would go up. It's nothing that the city of Clearwater controls. Motion has been made and seconded. Motion has been made and seconded to adopt ordinance 9242-19. Any other comments, council? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Agenda item 9.7, Ms. Call.
Ordinance number 9243-19, an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, annexing certain real properties located generally north of Drew Street, south of State Road 590, and within 1/4 mile west of North McMullen Booth Road, whose post office addresses are 3046 Merrill Avenue, 3035 Terrace View Lane, 3050 Glen Oak Avenue North, 3012 and 3020 Lake Vista Drive, 3023 Grandview Avenue, and 3077 Hoyt Avenue, all within Clearwater, Florida, 33759, into the corporate limits of the city and redefining the boundary lines of the city to include said additions, providing an effective date.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 9243-19 on second reading.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to adopt ordinance 9243-19 on second reading. Anybody from the public to speak to this motion?
My name is David Seabrooks. I'm the property owner of 3012 Lake Vista. I just wanted to put on the record that I rather enjoyed being in unincorporated Pinellas. I wanted to ask if there is a negative impact to me coming into the city as far as taxes and utilities. And what I mean by negative, will it cost me more to be in the city of Clearwater?
What was your address?
3012 Lake Vista.
Just a voluntary.
Did you not want to be annexed into the city?
I did not want to, but the card that showed up for me basically gave me a decision to make that was going to negative impact me if I did not go into the city. Basically, if I did not join in, I would be billed my water bill as if I was in the city. I had 1 year to make a decision. As far as my septic tank, I would have to have it removed and demolished on my own and pay for that cost. If I joined, I only paid $900 and that was it. And the city would do all of that. If I did not, the entire cost would be mine, and they stated it could be tens of thousands of dollars. Second, if I did not join the city, for 1 year I would continue to pay a water bill, which is at this time $44. At the end of that time frame, if I did not join the city, I would pay as if I was in the city, which would be over $100. And then going forward, I would be forced into the city and have to pay to hook up to the city's utilities. So basically, I had no choice. Either join or eventually pay and join. So since I paid and now I'm joining, I asked the board, what negative impact to me will it be joining the city in my utilities and my taxes?
Mayor, can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
We actually have an informational piece that has been prepared by the appropriate departments and the staff that will answer this gentleman's questions that we can certainly provide to him. You are scheduled to approve this tonight on second reading. I think largely what he has stated tonight is accurate. This was in one of the septic to sewer project areas, and the goal of which is to reduce or eliminate septic tanks. The incentive was to reduce the connection fees, as the gentleman has stated, and you recall, council did that so that the actual utility paid for that cost. So there is a calculation that's required monthly. Yes, it will cost him more because he won't have a septic tank anymore. He'll now be paying sewer disposal charges. So the utility piece will absolutely go up. Our stormwater utility rate is a little higher than what he's currently paying in Pinellas County in the unincorporated area. But we have a sheet that has calculated these costs as well as the benefits, because there are some that can be quantified that are bigger than the ones he's mentioned tonight. And I'm happy to get the address and have staff provide that to him. But we're at second reading, so I don't know if you want to do that.
I'd like to put on the record that I'd like to be grandfathered and not pay those extra costs.
You, for bond covenant reasons, cannot do that. You do not have that flexibility. I'll let the city attorney speak to that. Sorry.
He's getting, no, you're correct, because we have bond covenants, and also, as I understand it, you want the services, you just don't want to pay more for them?
I want to pay what I'm paying now.
Well, you're paying for water now, probably, isn't
Right.
it? You already received City of Clearwater water at an outside rate. So that, the water costs will go down, but the sewer costs will come in. So it's not something that we're going to be able to speak to his specific property tonight. Happy to provide the informational piece.
How about the taxes portion?
If you are a resident of the city of Clearwater, you pay City of Clearwater property taxes.
And right now I pay
County
taxes.
with an additional municipal service, what's the MTSU or
MSTU.
Yeah.
MSTU. There's also a difference there'll be a difference in his insurance rates because he'll be now in the police district, City of Clearwater Police Department coverage. He won't be in the fire district. There won't be a change in the fire district because we already cover that area. But there are a lot of factors that go into determining, what will cost more, and some things will, and some things will actually give him a higher level of coverage. His flood insurance will go down, for example. You know, those are all things that we have to look at on a property by property basis. We're at second reading, so I mean.
Mayor, if I could just add to that, by interlocal agreement with Pinellas County, Florida, this is a City of Clearwater urban service area.
We do not currently have the practice of involuntary annexation. So that particular issue, you would not have been forced to annex at some point in the future necessarily. That is not, we do not involuntarily annex.
But the card did say if I did not,
You'd pay the full
eventually,
cost.
I will pay the full cost, and you will be included in the city at some time in the future, and you will have to pay that entire cost at that time. So I read it as I had no choice.
Because there is a certain time frame that if you have a septic tank, you can no longer have a septic tank. Pinellas County does not provide sewer service. And because you would be surrounded by the city of Clearwater. So you would be, in effect, told that you have to join the city of Clearwater.
I wanted to make sure I just got on the record that I had no, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but at the end of the day, if I don't pay, eventually I will. So I chose to pay the least amount now. But the end game is I'm going to be in the city. So I put on the record that I'd like to be grandfathered. I put on the record that I'd like to, can anyone answer if the cost or the tax is higher? Will I pay a higher tax? If no one knows, I'd rather say.
I'm not sure which tax you're referring to.
We don't have your tax
Property
record.
tax. I assume you're referring to property taxes. Then the answer to that is yes. You do not currently pay property taxes to the city of Clearwater, but you will enjoy a different level of services as in exchange for paying property taxes. So yeah, your property tax bill will go up. Right now, you pay school district, Pinellas County, and your MSTU. There is a difference between your MSTU and what you will pay us, and I don't know what that is.
We don't know what that is, so we can't give you a specific
But yes, it's
answer.
likely that you will pay more in property taxes.
And you'll provide me, or at least direct me to where I can find this out.
We can provide that.
Mr. Delp would be happy to provide it. Absolutely.
I mean, historically, when you take living in the county, what your property tax are, but then the services that you have to contract with privately, garbage collection, things of that nature, you add those all up, that's all costs that you have to incur. When you're in the city of Clearwater, your property taxes are going to be higher than what you pay Pinellas County, but your trash collection is included in that property tax. And everything else. So when you take the whole thing, well, you get billed for all that, but I mean, it's all part of your city bill. But if you take all of your expenses across the board, being in the city and being in the county, normally it's within $200 to $300 either way. Sometimes it's more expensive, sometimes it's less expensive.
So far, I've done the math on the utilities part, and I'm going to pay a significant amount more because of the septic part. As far as the trash, I don't know what that's going to be yet, but I have another property that's in the city, and with the trash pickup, I'm going to use a number, it was about 110, and no one was even at the house. And I paid private waste management, like 90-something every 3 months. So, you know, 50 a month compared to 30 a month over time. When I did the math, it was better for me to stay outside of the city. But again, wanted to put it on record.
Let me also suggest that you said that if you were to have to switch from your septic to a sewer at a later date, it would cost you tens of thousands of dollars.
I did say that.
Chances are you're not going to spend tens of thousands of dollars in the additional fees that you're going to be paying to the city of Clearwater.
Over the life of living there?
I don't know. Neither one of us know the answer to that question. But we would like to think that the services that you're going to get from the city of Clearwater and the benefits that you're going to eventually derive, seen or unseen, will ease your mind that you've made the right decision.
The only comment I'd like to add on to that, Mayor, this septic to sewer program, that's a county mandate that we're working with them to try to comply. So it's not something that we dreamed up on our own. This has been a nationwide effort to get septic tanks in areas that have fragile water.
Is there a federal government incentive to do that?
That's a great question.
No. No, it's actually the ratepayers of the current city of Clearwater utility system that bought down your ability to enter the system at a reduced rate. There was no federal dollars involved in it.
When they first offered it, I think the fee was like $7,000.
Right, understand.
And then it came back, I said absolutely not. And then they came back and said, okay, 900.
We bought that down, not just for you, but for everybody in that area, at the opportunity to connect at a reduced rate. It was intentionally an incentive the city of Clearwater created. It's not federal.
Oh, again, just wanted to put that on the record.
I wanted to say something positive, although I feel sorry about the raising taxes.
Again, we have to ask you to identify yourself.
But I did want to say that, way back in the 90s, again, when we were studying Stevenson Creek and stormwater issues, we did want to encourage the city to annex properties and get rid of these septic tanks because it was clear they were leaking, they weren't being inspected. So I congratulate the city for moving people off septic tanks. Thank you.
Anybody else from the public to speak to agenda item 9.7 and the adoption of ordinance 9243-19? Any other comments, council? Motion has been made and seconded to adopt ordinance 9243-19 on second reading. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Agenda item 9.8, Ms. Aiken.
Ordinance number 9244. 9244-19, an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, amending the future land use element of the comprehensive plan of the city to designate the land use for certain real properties located generally north of Drew Street, south of State Road 590, and within 1/4 mile west of North McMullen Booth Road, whose post office addresses are 3046 Merrill Avenue, 3035 Terrace View Lane, and 3050 Glen Oak Avenue North, 3012 and 3020 Lake Vista Drive, 3023 Grandview Avenue, and 3070 Hoyt Avenue, all within Clearwater, Florida 33759, upon annexation in City of Clearwater as residential low RL, providing an effective date.
I move that we adopt ordinance 9244-19 on second reading.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adopt ordinance 9244-19 on second reading. Anybody from the public to speak to this motion? Comments, council? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Ms. Call, agenda item 9.9.
Ordinance number 9245-19, an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, amending the zoning atlas of the city by zoning certain real properties located generally north of Drew Street, south of State Road 590, and within 1/4 mile west of North McMullen Booth Road, whose post office addresses are 3046 Merrill Avenue, 3035 Terrace View Lane, 3050 Glen Oak Avenue North, 3012 and 3020 Lake Vista Drive, 3023 Grandview Avenue, and 3077 Hoyt Avenue, all within Clearwater, Florida 33759, upon annexation to the City of Clearwater as low medium density residential LMDR, providing an effective date.
Move that we adopt ordinance 9245-19 on second reading.
Motion's been made and seconded to adopt ordinance 9245-19 on second reading. Anybody from the public to speak to this motion? Comments, council? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Agenda item 9.10, Ms. Aiken.
Ordinance number 9266-19, an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, amending the operating budget for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2019 to reflect increases and decreases in revenues and expenditures for the General Fund, Special Development Fund, Special Program Fund, Water and Sewer Fund, Marine Fund, Parking Fund, General Services Fund, Administrative Services Fund, and Garage Fund, as provided herein, providing an effective date.
Motion to adopt ordinance 9266-19 on second reading.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adopt ordinance 9266-19 on second reading. Anybody from the public speak to this motion? Comments, council? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Agenda item 9.11, Ms. Call.
Ordinance number 9267-19, an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, amending the capital improvement budget for the fiscal year ending September 30, 2019 to reflect a net increase of $5,811,509, providing an effective date.
Move to adopt ordinance 9267-19 on second reading.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adopt ordinance 9267-19 on second reading. Anybody from the public speak to this motion? Comments, council? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Agenda item 9.12 is to be continued to a date uncertain. Is anybody from the public wishing to speak to agenda item 9.12? Agenda item 9.13 is to be continued to a date uncertain. Anybody from the public wishing to speak to this agenda item 9.13? Ms. Aiken, do you have anything else further for us?
No, sir.
Okay. Ms. Silverboard or Mr. Maxwell, agenda item 11.1.
So Mayor, this is the opportunity for us to seek your direction regarding the design of Imagine Clearwater, as discussed in your special meeting on Monday, and I believe we begin with Mr. Maxwell.
Mr. Maxwell. Council, before Mr. Maxwell starts, let's make sure that we're all on the same page here, that we're going to make some decisions tonight. I happen to have brought with me, and y'all probably have it also, the initial timeline for Imagine Clearwater. We were supposed to have solicited redevelopment proposals for the Harborview Center in winter of 2018, and the design of park elements was to be completed in 2018. We just finished the first quarter of 2019, and I think we need to put our shoulder to the wheel and make some decisions tonight that will pertain to what we want to have done on the green and the amphitheater pavilion band shell area, so that staff can continue with its design. We're not, our intent, we should not be trying to design or manage this from the dais. And so with that, Mr. Maxwell, help us out.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Mike Maxwell, Assistant City Manager. Monday, we had an opportunity to receive a second presentation from Duncan Webb of Webb Management Services, who provided us information on the financial feasibility and the business plan, the recommended business plan as we move forward with the design of the amphitheater part of the plan. This evening, we have 4 items which we would like some direction on from council. I've added those into your agenda item, but for the sake of the audience, I'll go ahead and go through. through them. We're going to take them, if possible, in two parts. The first part would be directly related to green. And the first item we're looking for direction on is whether or not the council wishes to pursue a retractable roof large enough to cover 3,000 seats. That was based on Duncan Webb's recommendation during the market study. So that's why we used that information. Number two, whether or not council is comfortable with the rake generally consistent with what you've seen on Monday and the plan itself. Number three is whether or not council is comfortable moving forward based on the financial information provided. And I have provided separately each one of you the calculations that we were able to do based on the capital. We did not have that information Monday. We added that information to the operating information that Mr. Webb provided us on Monday, and I'll touch on that in a second. So we're looking for that to be one item, and then the second piece of this, that will give us the direction on the green. The second piece of this is trying to get some comments on any other areas that the council may have some concerns about at this time that are outside of the green in those other areas. So Stantec is going to come up, bring us back through some of those elements and show those to you again, and we'll see if you have any comments that we need to try to follow up on. With that, I'm going to ask Darrell LeBlanc, who is the architect from Stantec, to come up and speak a little bit about the amphitheater, version that he has created. That he based the estimated construction costs on. We have some slides, 6 slides that show different perspectives. The version you're going to see is retractable or permanent, and that'll ask Darrell to come on up.
Good evening. Darrell LeBlanc, architect with Stantec. As Mike said, what we have here are a couple of different images showing some of the development of the architecture for the covered seating area associated with the performance venue. This is showing the 3,000 seat capacity. And what we're going to show is a couple of images that show we've studied both a fixed and retractable option. So it's the same design, but it just shows how it might look when it's in its retracted position versus when it's deployed. This takes into account the heights that we're looking for as far as what the proscenium would be. There's roughly 45 feet clear underneath that at the stage, which has been the working dimension all along. This is a little different than some of the other proposals that we had shown in the sense that it does taper down and gets a little bit smaller toward the edges. We don't feel as though that detracts from any sight lines within the green itself, but it's probably a little bit more sympathetic to views from around the park itself out toward the bay. So in this image, we're looking at it obviously from an aerial image looking back toward the stage. This shows that same view without the canopy or in its retracted position. So as we had talked about on Monday, there's still a significant amount of structure that needs to stay in place in order for that system to work. But it does provide an open area so that when the weather's nice or when you want to see the stars, it is possible to do that. But the overall design is essentially the same. This is a view essentially from the center of the lawn looking back. This shows the relatively level nature of the lawn that we've been talking about. This is not an extreme slope. This shows what it might look like from about midway through the lawn looking back toward the stage. What's not shown in this view is any additional screens that might be employed in various events. If you have a lot of people expected to be in the lawn area, there might be some additional screens out on some of the leading edge of the canopy so that people who are further back can actually see better. But there are 2 screens that we're planning on either side of the stage. This is that same view with the canopy retracted. This is a similar aerial view, just straight on. And again, this is that same version in its retracted state. So essentially a steel structure. We are at this point in this particular design, the retracted system, we were thinking about a membrane of some sort to keep it relatively light. That cuts down on some of the structure that would be required, but that's still to be determined. We're still looking at different alternatives. I think that is the end of, yes, it's the end of the email. Sorry.
Thanks, Darrell. Do you have any questions for Darrell?
Let's see if we've got some questions.
Absolutely.
Council?
Yeah, just thank you, Mayor. By the way, it's unfortunate we just now got to see that particular design because that one, for me, answers that question iconic that we've all been talking about for over a year. The fact that it does both retract and is fixed is nice. I'll come right out and say it. I'm not a fan of retractable. After I've talked to the experts in the 3 different fields, whether it's AECOM, Ruth Eckerd Hall, the Florida Orchestra, Live Nation, what comes over and over again is more trouble than it's worth, and the expense you have to incur through maintenance, operational, right here in the salt water. So I'll start with that. The next set of questions has to do directly with the seating underneath the structure. How is there that right there is a rendering for 3,000 chairs.
That's correct.
How many rows is that, and what are the width of the chairs? Because there are different widths in chairs and aisle width, by the way.
Okay, so I'll try to answer the questions as I remember them.
Okay.
The aisle width between the seating rows is 8 feet as the plan. The distance between the rows from chair back to chair back is shown right now at 3 feet 8 inches.
Okay.
And the widths of the chairs, I believe we were showing something in the 28-inch range.
28-inch range?
Correct.
That's an enormous chair.
We were planning, we've been hearing armrests, we've been hearing cup holders, we've been hearing things.
Well, if I could...
And I would want to clarify that with Chris, who is the theatrical consultant who did the layout.
I would just want to interject that with armrests and chair rests, and again, there are many different styles of chairs, stackable, but I think we've pretty much laid to rest the idea of a snap-in chair and tracks and stuff like that. So we were talking about a high-end stackable chair or foldable chair for ease in, ease out, and storage as well, because it'll be stored on site. 28 is the maximum, and out of all those promoters and experts I've talked to, I haven't heard anybody offer a 28-inch chair.
It's a wide chair.
So I've heard 19 to 20, 22, 24. And all venues, whether indoor or outdoor, the VIP, that premium experience that we talk about, is for the wider chairs to be up front. The higher the ticket price. In the back, of course, you go to the rest. So let me ask you this then, I'll put it in a question. If we're using 28-inch chairs and 8-foot aisles, by using market trend sized chairs that I just referred to, it sounds to me we can easily go that right there with no additional cost. Could it conceptually fit more chairs up to, say, 4,000?
Yes, it can.
How, let me ask you this, from the flex area right in front of house,
Yes.
how wide is the flex area in front of house where there are no chairs showing?
We've been planning on approximately 30 feet. It's a crescent shape, so it's not a consistent dimension, but about 30 feet from edge of stage to where the first row of seating is.
Okay.
And some of the seating counts, they fluctuate, because some have counted some capacity for seats that could be in the flex zone, but right now we're not showing it. We're just showing that as an open area that can be used for other games.
At the end of that 30 feet where the first row starts?
Yes.
What is the distance from first row to last row as shown in the rendering?
It would be somewhere around 140 feet, if I'm not mistaken. It's about 180 feet total from the edge of canopy to stage. So minus the 30, and then we have some cantilevered section of edge of canopy where the last row of seating is. So I think we're in the 140-foot dimension.
And one final question, if I may, Mayor. With this particular rendering that shows 3,000 28-inch chairs, does this also have ADA access, and how many chairs are dedicated for ADA?
It does have ADA access. I don't honestly recall the number, but they are planned for in the seating layout, yes.
Okay.
Again, Council, let's not try to micromanage.
No,
in design.
these are relevant questions.
But
to
the
size.
relevant question was that if you go to the smaller seat, in the same footprint that you have 3,000, you can get to 4,000.
I don't know if we'd increase that much, but I think if you recall Chris Sprague, our theatrical consultant, he's always talked about the capacity in a range, in the sense that once these things get narrowed down, we have the actual chair. And we know, a little bit more about the structure, and we have these things fine-tuned, and we've had a chance to sit down and do our code analysis and meet with the building officials and fire marshal and so on, there might be some changes to the actual capacity. So could there be more than 3,000 in this particular layout? I think absolutely that is a fair statement, yes.
Because you were using,
Correct.
throughout that rendering, you were using 28.
As a conservative
That's
number.
that's all we have to worry about right now.
But, well, Mayor, and I still have the floor, and to me, that is extremely relevant, the ADA question, because depending on the size of that geographical footprint, you could lose up to 100, I don't know how many chairs through ADA. So then you start subtracting that from even the 3,000, then is that venue there, or that particular template there, less than 3,000 when you add the ADA complement in there?
I don't believe so, no. Our layout that shows 3,000 accommodates the ADA.
I'm good.
Mr. Maxwell, you wanted to say
No,
something?
I was only going to say that that as we get into the schematic design of this, add in some operational elements, trying to find proper storage for these different chairs, that line, how far out it comes, is going to move. Our target will be that the number that you provide to us today, it may come in, it may come out, we don't know. The point is wanting to get to that schematic level.
For now, I'm good, thank you.
Following back up, you said that was from the front of the stage to the very last row is 140 feet.
I believe that's correct.
Do you have something that we can see what that 140 feet looks like on
On a plan?
Yeah.
Right there. Let's see what we got.
That's probably the closest thing we've got right there.
Okay. And that's 140 feet.
Correct, and that's where you can see that the last row of seat, there is a section of roof that covers beyond that, so it's covering up whether there's a cross aisle or something like that.
You know how many feet that is, by any chance?
The
extra overhang there?
It's probably 15 to 20 feet.
There would be another couple.
And that, ask the question, I think the question is, how many extra rows would that be?
Right, well, I mean, if you could see it's kind of hard to see at this scale, but you could theoretically probably put another 4 rows.
And that's, and you're looking at 28, so if you reduce that to 20.
We would get another couple hundred seats.
Yeah, I'd like to find out for sure if it's 28 inches that was used in this.
I think
I need to know that before we make a decision, honestly.
The overhang, I know that the theatrical designers constructed the overhang to make sure that those individuals that were sitting in those rows further back did have some proper coverage from either the sun or the rain, so it is achieving its goal. So the more we go back there, the less folks in the back are going to receive the benefits of the cover itself, depending on the time of day and the elements.
Mr. Olbrich?
Well, I was really glad to hear that you figured a 28-inch seat, because I've been wrestling this for a couple of days. I've got cuts on the seating, and from my calculations, it looks like you've written in 35 rows coming back from the flex area, and at a 3 foot 8 inch per row, which is gigantic, I think, at least compared with what we do now. I got an email from our fire marshal because I wanted to see what our requirements were, and he said a clear width of not less than 12 inches for a chair. So I mean, we're giant on this. Okay. Yeah. So we've got a great area here because we don't have fixed chairs like most of the other places we see. So we have a small event. You set up a number of chairs. You don't look like you're half empty. And I really think that the way you have it drawn, with the roof covering those chairs, that you could put 4,000 chairs under there. Because one of the things that we're deciding is the size of this pavilion compared and how much green area you have left over after that roof. So it's the only comment I want to make. I think we're on the right track here.
Mr. Kondo?
The green area left over is a football field and a half of green, and all grass, no artificial turf. The only artificial is underneath where the seats are going to go. We have had I don't know how many years we've been using folding chairs in Coachman Park, as long as I can remember, but I'm a newcomer 22 years. And what we're trying to do is to move into not just the same facility, but an improved facility. And to put these chairs under cover, and I agree, I think it ought to be probably 4,000 max, but you could set up 3,000 or 2,000, whatever the anticipated audience is going to be. And then when those chairs are removed, you have shade for that football field and a half of green. I'm kind of an older fellow. I don't like the sun a whole lot. I like it a little bit, but I like shade. And if I could, get under there for a little bit. And then for the concerts, right, we move, like the rock programs. Everybody likes to stand. Well, except me, I'm older. I like to sit half of the time, stand the other half. But I think there's a good balance here between the seats provided. I had a really nice conversation with the folks from the Florida Orchestra here today, and they were talking about wanting to come to a facility like that, and that's what's in our HRNA report, to provide a facility that world-class talent would enjoy coming to. And they said, how about international orchestras that travel in the United States? They would want to come to a place like this. And I think you've done an amazing job with the design. I don't know, we're not talking about the type of covering yet, but what do you...
Questions?
Well, yeah, it is a question. The type of covering you have has limited amount of support underneath, is that right?
That's correct.
I counted 4.
At this point, we're talking about 4 main vertical supports all along the perimeter.
This is stainless steel, not stainless steel, but steel bridge type.
It would be, exposed steel, ornamental, painted with technical coatings, base sides, and iron.
Okay, thanks.
Well, as I said Monday, I am not inclined to be in favor of a retractable roof. I deal with retractable roofs every day at our business on the beach, and the maintenance costs, every time one goes out, having to repair it and everything. And our salt air environment is a very tough environment to deal with. That's the renderings here. They look, it's a neat looking roof, but again, coated steel in the salt environment is going to start showing rust. Painting each individual one of those tubes is a challenge, but we're not making a decision on the final roof design tonight, but I am much more inclined, even looking at these renderings that look great, I am just much more inclined for a permanent roof without, and when there's nothing going on in the facility, it's going to be a great shaded area for people that are down enjoying the other amenities in the park to get out of that summer sun and whatnot. So, I think that's right. I'm sorry I didn't really say ask a question, but.
Okay. Let me have a motion.
Mr. Chairman, to all 4 questions?
No, let's do the size.
Okay. Then I'm prepared to make that motion.
Julian?
Mr. Maxwell?
No, it's just
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion that Mr. Maxwell directs Stantec, that we direct Mr. Maxwell to direct Stantec to design options for an iconic fixed roof permanent structure to cover no less than 4,000 removable seats.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to provide a facility that would have 4,000 seats under cover.
Fixed roof.
Fixed roof.
That answers two
Yeah.
questions, yeah.
Okay.
By the way, that particular one there, Hoyt, I'm not sure if you were clear on it, that can be either retractable or permanent.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and they could probably give us, okay.
Right.
Anybody from the public to speak to that motion?
Just one clarification right there. We would be going to Stantec to have them provide us a work order. We will still need to come back with an actual approval of that work order with council. Just want to make that clear.
Right.
My name is Patrick Raftery. Mayor and members of the council, I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you on this matter, which I've considered myself a long time, having been a citizen of Clearwater for 40 years and looking forward to the development of the downtown Clearwater for most of those years. I'll keep my comments brief because I've been very impressed with the questions and the motion was just most recently made. When the presentation was made on Monday, I believe the consultants studied 9 venues in the state of Florida. Those venues have the same problems that we have. Weather and humidity, thunderstorms, hurricane. They've all gone through the decision process that we're doing right now, which is how many seats and what type of covering. I'm certain that you're privy to more information than I am, but perhaps on those 9 venues, you got information about how they made their decisions. And I would suggest that we imitate their success and learn from their mistakes as we try to make a decision. Speaking for myself, however, I'm in favor as well of the 4,000 seat proposal with a permanent roof. The 4,000 seats is much related to the offer from Ruth Eckerd Hall to sponsor 25 events with us, because we must make this a success. The permanent roof, for the very reasons that Councilman Hamilton mentioned about the maintenance of them in the salt water in the air and so forth. It would also give us a permanent shaded area for other events that other groups could use that we would schedule in the park area. So I think in closing, I would just like to say it's important that we do make a decision, and it's important we do move forward and to not let uncertainty cause us to go into indecision mode once again. So I'm in favor of this motion, and there's no guarantees of success. We make decisions and we move forward. One other item I'd like to add is we saw projections from the consultants about a 5-year period of time where we may lose money. And I would suggest as we go forward, we monitor those projections very closely. I come from the business world, and we did capital expenditures and projects, and we always took those projections as a challenge to be beat. Bring those projects to fruition sooner and bring them closer and better cost effective than the projections showed us. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
My name is Ann Garris. I was privileged, I thought, to be one of those people that were put on that committee they so imaginatively called Imagine Clearwater. We had a lot of fun at it. I met a lot of old friends that I had worked with in the past. And I thought we came up with a very good plan. There were a whole bunch of us, and everybody contributed. And I thought we'd done a good thing. But then I found out we had been scum-doubled. And the way I found out was someone at the end of what we were doing, someone said to one of the people who had been leading the group, what about the Ruth Eckerd Hall thing? And the person said, we're going to do that later. He may not have said we're going to do that later, but he made it very clear now was not the time to talk about the Ruth Eckerd Hall thing. So I was delighted to see that finally we had got something really beautiful. We had listened to the people. we had really listened to the people that were habitually in favor of Clearwater, doing things for Clearwater. And I thought that was a very good thing until all of a sudden, from somewhere, not out of anything I heard at any of those meetings, we're talking about this big stadium. Now, mind you, we didn't talk much about it until after we had had a referendum and persuaded the people of Clearwater to vote to do the project. I didn't see any great big stadium pictures in the pictures that we used to promote the referendum's approval. Did you? I didn't see any verbiage that said, and we're going to have this. It was not a small thing. It seems to me that even a 2,000 stadium was big enough to mention in the referendum. But we did not mention it in the referendum or anything we said about it. It just wasn't there. And so the people voted. And they said, we want a natural park. They voted what was before them, which was a natural park. And we thought, wonderful, after all these years of all the things they wanted to put on paper.
Thank you, ma'am. Your time is up.
I just thought.
Thank you, ma'am. Your
you
time
needed
is
to
up.
know.
Anybody else from the public wishing to speak? Well, let me do this. Are you in favor or opposed
To what?
to the motion?
I'm opposed.
Okay, I like to try to alternate yes and no's. So are you a yes or a no? I'm sorry? Okay.
Good evening, Council, Mayor, Darrell Henderson, Clearwater Regional Chamber. Clearwater Chamber, on behalf of the business community, appreciates that Council is considering information from several sources to inform your decision. This project is a top priority for the Chamber and its membership. Chamber supports your continuing to move forward based on the information that you have available, and we urge you to move those plans forward tonight. Chamber supports you directing staff to move forward with an amphitheater design that has enough covered seating, technology, and backstage capacity to support and attract top-level talent that will drive traffic to the park and to downtown. The business community is interested in preserving green space, but understand that parks don't generate revenue. We need to focus on and consider the counsel of local professionals in the entertainment industry to maximize the revenue produced from the proposed amphitheater to limit public dollars that would otherwise have to be used for the park construction and maintenance. The design of the amphitheater needs to be an iconic thing to attract visitors to the downtown waterfront. And with that, I thank you for all that you do for the community on behalf of the Chamber.
Someone to speak in opposition to the motion.
Good evening, my name is Kathleen Beckman, and I'm a Clearwater resident. I'm also a member of the Clearwater Neighborhoods Coalition, and I'm here at the behest of our president, Ms. Karen Cunningham, because she is unable to attend. The Clearwater Neighborhoods Coalition, or CNC, is a community-based nonprofit organization dedicated to promoting sustainability and quality of life for Clearwater neighborhoods. It was formed in 1970, the Clearwater Neighborhoods Coalition is comprised of representatives from various Clearwater neighborhood, civic, and homeowner associations. The following statement is from the president, Karen Cunningham, of the CNC, representing the CNC. Last Monday, April 1st, the CNC endorsed sending a communication to the city as follows. The Clearwater Neighborhood Coalition requested an independent forensic audit of revenue and all costs of the following concerts in Coachman Park. April 23rd, 2017, Kenny G. May 17th, 2017, John Legend. June 10th, 2017, Third Eye Blind. December 14th, 2017, Sammy Hagar. May 5th, 2018, George Clinton. June 2nd, 2018, John Fogerty and ZZ Top. And April 28th, 2018, Beach to Bay. Additionally, we request that standard reporting procedures be established for future city concerts. The above was adopted unanimously at the meeting on April 1st, 2019. Furthermore, it is our belief that the council needs to thoroughly investigate the profit-loss ratio of these activities, including salaries and expenses of contributing city departments beyond Parks and Recreation, for example, the additional cost of policing, and the council should review and report such data prior to proposing an expanded amphitheater, which could potentially become a major tax burden. Sincerely, Karen Cunningham, President, Clearwater Neighborhoods Coalition.
Thank you. Anybody wishing to speak in favor of the motion?
Good evening, my name is Dan Sheldon, owner of Clear Sky Restaurants, and obviously a stakeholder in downtown Clearwater. I want to give reference to this lady just said a moment ago. Granted that these issues, I understand why people want to know how much money is being made, but some reference, what she didn't mention is trickle down. Because being a restaurant owner, these events and whatever, people do come into the neighborhoods, to the city, and if it's a big enough event, they will actually book hotel rooms. And you see this, I think most of us at some time have gone to different cities and booked hotel rooms just to see some certain concerts or events. So yes, financials are important, but there's more than just what you get just from the show itself. That being said, also I don't speak for all the stakeholders downtown, but I just speak for myself. Is that on this, we're certainly for the bigger size of the event, of the staging area. This is sometimes people think that this is not a 5 or 10 year plan. This is a generational plan, folks. We had a chance 25 years ago some of you that weren't here before, or not old enough to know this, we had a chance to transform the bluffs many, many years ago, and we failed. We absolutely failed. And what's happened in turn with they bypassed downtown with the bridge and everything else, and we, there's no one person or group or whatever that we can put blame on. It's collective, but we have a chance here to turn things around, to make a chance, to make it an event, a place where people from not just Clearwater, not just Pinellas County, but people from everywhere will come to see. But with that venue, there are no guarantees in this world, but it certainly has to be one of the finest venues in the world with a bluff overlooking the water, overlooking Clearwater Beach. I have confidence in the people that are going to, frankly, that know how to stage events, concerts, symphonies, plays like Shakespeare in the Park. It's not just about big events, it's also about the little things too. Local theater, this could be a game changer. And for people that also say that we're taking, worry about the green space and whatever the improvement is going to be wonderful. Right now, probably half of it is blacktop. The other half is this building we haven't really used in years. Anything is improvement, and anything that frankly makes Clearwater vibrant. And what you did years ago, think of what you did when Beach Walk. Remember if you were here, what you did you had a vision, had a plan, and frankly, in everybody's estimation, it works. Think bigger, but think not in 5 or 10 years, think 20, 25 years. We can't afford to mess this up. Thank you very much.
Anybody wishing to speak in opposition to the plan, to the motion?
Hi, my name is Brent Armstrong. I was born and raised in Clearwater, been here most of my life. Seen all the changes, and just in response to the last gentleman, Beach Walk, it seems to me, was not for the citizens. Beach Walk has turned out to be for the hotels and the tourists. The people I know who used to go to the beach don't go to the beach anymore. It's too crowded. If they go early in the morning. They don't go to the old Pier Pavilion, Pier 60 Park to watch movies. That's for the tourists. The beach is so crowded with events on the weekends, the volleyball tournaments, the different things. I used to lifeguard down there, and it's packed. The local people don't go. Cleveland Street was redesigned for the businesses. Bright House Field for the, mostly the Phillies. Not many people go to the Thresher games. I've been to a spring training game. It's mostly for the visitors. I would suggest you give this park to the people of Clearwater, not to the people from East Hillsborough County who come to see ZZ Top, or the people from Hudson who come to see John Fogerty. Give it to the people, a nice, peaceful, quiet parkland. What bothers me about the 4,000 that you seem to be focused on is that seems like it's going to be for Ruth Eckerd, so that they can have their 25 concerts, which means there are going to be 42, I think the numbers are 42 events, which ties up the park for at least 125 days for the setup and the breakdown and the concert. Well, when I see the park being set up and broken down with the fencing and everything, that's a huge distraction. It's ugly, and it's not serviceable. And so a third of the year is going to be devoted to setting up, breaking down, in really a very not appealing place for the residents to come. So I would suggest you not allow Ruth Eckerd with her extra 25 concerts to drive this 4,000 number. Keep it small. Keep it for the people of Clearwater, not the people from Manatee, from Hillsborough, from Pasco who come to these events. And those are my feelings. Thank you.
Anybody wishing to speak in favor of the motion?
I'm Joe Trevino, and I'd like to start out by just complimenting this council. We spent actually years and quite a few weeks and months now. You've accomplished something that's pretty awesome. As Mr. Hamilton had referred to, you've actually taken some time to get it right. This is getting it right. I thank the last gentleman for reminding me of Yogi Berra. People don't go there anymore because it's too crowded. The advance to the city and to the people of this city, when we have all these tourists, is why we have what we have as far as amenities. These people cover a lot of the bills. But the idea is, more importantly, what was said prior to that. You're building for the future. You listen to the people. The people want green space. They want a garden. They want a playground. They want fountains. They want a plaza. You want a lake. You want a bowling, a big green space to throw frisbees. That's fine. None of that generates any support that the citizens are going to be burdened with to provide those facilities. It is amazing that we can't see there's only one opportunity to make this a sustainable park. Mr. Shevlin mentioned something about plan for the future. Go for 10, 20, 25, 30 years in the future. How can you cover insurance on a playground, maintenance on a botanical gardens? God knows what the operating costs are for some sort of estuary or whatever we're planning on doing. These things do not generate money. What's proper is to turn around and say, the experts say, we can put in a facility that's actually 4, 5, or 6 acres out of 70 acres when you throw in City Hall. 4, 5, 6 acres that would create an economic engine that would make all the things the people, as Ms. Garrison said, what they want. As this gentleman said, what you want. What you want and what you're willing to pay for are two different things. What you're willing to make a burden on the taxpayers for the next 20 years is your decision as a council. You can create a park that forms a compromise that would last for many, many years going forward. Whether you design a conservancy or any other thing to this, you are turning around and laying the foundation for a park that will be iconic, that will bring destination people, will bring world-class performances. This thing about setting up and blocking the park, it's in segments. Now you close the whole park to set up. In the future, you would close 4 acres to set up and leave 56 acres or 66 acres open. So the park would be available at all times. You could go through the garden while they're setting up the pavilion. You can go use, walk the lake.
Thank you, sir, your time
Thank
is up. Someone who is opposed to the motion.
Hello, my name is Lauren Hallahan, and I'm here tonight after watching your workshop and because of voter understanding of what was to be an enhanced, larger performance stage with amenities for musicians, that it has now morphed into an iconic amphitheater to be a destination venue for the region and its population. That is not for Clearwater residents. I wonder what the mad rush is in this workshop by consultants who want a few answers now because they don't want to have to come back to you, City Hall. And I don't think this is what the citizens wanted, watching all of this morph into this iconic theater. I've heard the preference for a hard roof to hold up to the weather elements, and learned that all the grass must be torn up. You can't have grass under the large roofs, so it has to be astroturf instead. But no worries, the new stuff drains really well, won't flood, and the people won't get hurt. Thanks for asking, Mr. Mayor, about that. I wonder what the environmental impact is on this project and if any of these studies have been done. Others have also talked about the setup of these high-end events, keeping people out of the park altogether for many days out of the year. One of you on the council also worried that some people may be able to stand in an area and still listen and hear without paying. I wonder what the boats will be doing while they're anchored out there listening. They won't be paying either. The consultant said not to worry about that, so I wonder what he has in his plans for this area that will be no one able to stand around anywhere and hear if they haven't paid. It sounds like a private takeover of our park, and with the help of our politicians who like to build shiny objects that usually end up costing the taxpayers lots of money. You are also told that the food in this venue must be iconic as well. It must match the experience. This is in direct conflict with our downtown businesses when attendees will be purchasing high-end food in this iconic amphitheater that was to be our park. Will you also be raising the noise levels, I wonder, for residents, even across the bay who have been tolerant for many years with the existing sound levels? The financing also appears to be weak. Right now, we live in a city that doesn't even know how much the Parks Department profits or loses off its concerts and festivals. Really? Really? It's true. We have many neighborhoods complaining of defunding, tennis courts removed, etc., and paving of streets continuing to be pushed back, and street patches throughout our neighborhoods. They look terrible. The stage enhancement project that is now morphed into a destination venue for others outside of our city is nothing more than corporate welfare for rich little boys and shiny objects for politicians. Shame on Ruth Eckerd Hall, who already receives millions and millions of taxpayer dollars for their operations, and now want to take over our green space on the water. And shame on you for all going along with this corporate welfare.
Anybody wishing to speak in favor of the motion? Is there anyone else who wishing to speak in favor of the motion?
Good evening, David Lillisand, 331 Cleveland Street. There's going to be this controversy and many others that we need to resolve. And I went to all 7 of the neighborhood meetings, the 700 people who attended, and I went to the stakeholders meeting. I was not a member of the committee, but I know what was discussed there. And there was no discussion of what the band shell, or as I call it, the music venue would be. And that was on purpose. You know, as a lawyer, I believe in reading the document. And what we voted on in the master plan contained on page 138 in footnote 3, there was no discussion of what the band shell would look like, its size or anything else. And thus there was no cost analysis done of what the future operational or construction cost would be. I think, with all due respect to Ms. Garris, for whom I have a lot of respect for all she's done for our city, it wasn't a question of bait and switch or hiding the information. That was a purposeful decision made by HRNA and the people that were working on the stakeholder committee not to talk about that. But they set forth, and this is the one criticism I would have of you as council members, they set forth what was supposed to happen after the master plan was approved, and that was a conservancy of a public and private partnership to discuss these kinds of issues. And I just urge you that in the future, there are going to be more and more decisions you're going to need to make. Programming decisions, size, placement, what type of, nice splash pads go in there. It really needs to be done by a private and public citizen input process that was outlined specifically in writing in the document, the master plan, with a timeline of when that should have happened. And it hasn't happened, and I think that's going to lead to more of these kind of situations. Thank you.
I ask that you treat without comments. Let me remind you, the motion is to approve 4,000. That's what we're asking you to speak on, either for or opposed. The motion, not other comments. And with the fixed rule. Anybody wishing to speak in opposition to the motion?
Mayor, council people, and staff. My name is Chris Nicolette. I live in Clearwater Point. And this morning I got up by reading the Imagine Clearwater plan. And the thing that struck me there, number one, was that the consultants shared at the beginning that there seemed to be a lot of mistrust between the citizenry of Clearwater and the leaders of Clearwater. That struck me because I was taken by the fact that the consultant said that the Imagine Clearwater plan would bring people together because the citizenry and our leadership was dedicated to making a robust, thriving, people-friendly area of the downtown. I'm only going to share one thing, and this is of major concern to me, and I want you all to put on your business hats, which I know you have. Those of us who have had a business recognize that from the consultant, Duncan Ward's report, he said, and now we're looking at 4,000 seats, but he said with a 3,000 seat venue, the pro forma budget states losses in excess of $1.2 million, including pre-opening costs, and a meager $22,000 profit in the year of 5 operations. Those of you who have a business know that it takes at least 5 years for a business to get started. So at the end, and this does not include, this projection does not include a large covering over this, and this is just 3,000 people. No business would survive these conditions, let alone be funded by any financial institution. I ask that you not exceed Mr. Ward's recommendation, which you already have by this motion, but I'm asking you to consider the fact that the people who attended many of the meetings said they wanted something that would bring dignity, recreation, a sense of pride. And it was not included, to the last person who spoke, Mr. David. Yes, the amphitheater was not included, and I'm sure people wanted some type of venue for music, for theater, but I'm sure they did not know that what is being proposed after 5 years of life would yield a meager $22,000 profit. Therefore, our tax dollars would be spent. I'm recommending that you not exceed, which you already have, Mr. Ward's recommendation, and consider a smaller venue or one not at all. Thank you.
We generally take a recess after 2 hours of meeting. We started at 6 o'clock. We will take a recess until 8:10 and reconvene at 8:10. like to recon,
You gotta wait till everybody gets, and you need 3 people on the dais.
Here comes Jay, here comes Bob, here comes Dave. There we go.
let me ask that you please take your seats. We're reconvening. We are reconvening the meeting of April the 4th. The last speaker spoke against the motion. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of the motion for a 4,000 with a fixed roof? Or with a covered roof, with a roof?
Fixed covered.
I'm Doug Kelly. I'm in favor of a fixed roof and also at least 4,000 because of critical mass. If you're going to do it, you got to do it and make it cost effective. Pardon me. Unlike many people here in this room and at the dais, I have not been here 20, 30, 40 years. I've been here about 10. As such, I've lived in a lot of different other areas in Florida, including the Florida Keys and Miami and Fort Lauderdale and Winter Park near Orlando and in Tampa. And every community, especially the smaller ones, have a magnet that bring people. Here it's Clearwater Beach. The more magnets you have, the more people are going to come, and people attract people. It's just that simple. And there will be a spillover in Cleveland Street, in my opinion. But I certainly encourage to have as many seats as you could fit under there. There'll still be plenty of green space, and I think it'll be a project we're all happy and proud with in the end. Thank you.
And anybody wishing to speak in opposition to the motion?
Okay, I want to give, I'm reading this, but somebody actually wrote it and isn't able to read it, so I'm reading it. Lisa Lanza. As I understand it, the Imagine Clearwater project has been in the works for over 10 years. Nearly 5 years at the city's request and at a cost of $125,000. The Urban Land Institute produced a 39-page report to provide strategic advice regarding a comprehensive and long-term perspective for the continued growth and development of downtown Clearwater. After reviewing the background data, touring the area, and interviewing more than 70 stakeholders, the professionals made some specific recommendations. Your job is to represent and advocate for the expressed desires of your constituents. Your constituents are not simply business owners, nor are they Ruth Eckerd Hall booking promotion people. Your constituents are hardworking Clearwater residents. Please remember, according to the U.S. Census Bureau, the residents of Clearwater make an average of $46,000, and we have 16% of our population living in poverty. When you discuss a larger amphitheater for top-name acts with $300 ticket prices, parking costs, and significant revenue from food and beverage, think $8 bottles of water, do you really think the average Clearwater citizen will be frequenting Coachman Park for a concert? Tonight, it is imperative that you listen to the recommendations of the professionals you hired. As a council, you must make decisions based on facts and research. There is never a guarantee that predictions will be fully realized, but when spending taxpayers' money, you must be able to justify your decisions. Listen to the voices of Clearwater residents and the experts. And I might add, one of your goals presented on April 1st was generate sufficient revenues to sustain operations. This is certainly a goal, but highly suspect due to accounting profit loss margins with P&R department reporting accountability, as well as facts from Stantec. Today, you are anxious to make something happen. I urge you to take a breath and follow the recommendations of Mr. Ward and his team. Do not cave to the desires of a few local businessmen, vocal businessmen, and your pie in the sky. Maybe we can do this tangents. Stay focused, follow expert recommendations, and listen to the desires of the Clearwater citizens you are here to represent. Do not vote to exceed the recommendations Mr. Ward has presented to you. Do not authorize a plan for over 2,500 seating. And by the way, many people who are speaking on behalf of this that are also members of the Downtown Partnership do not live in Clearwater. And some of the people that spoke at the podium tonight do not live in Clearwater. We, the residents, attended many, many meetings, as you well know, and we've clearly expressed what was expressed by the residents tonight. We wanted this to be our park for the residents at
Thank you,
what
ma'am.
we could
Thank
afford.
you, ma'am. Your
If
time
you want to
is
know who
up.
wrote this, contact me
Thank
after.
you, ma'am. Your time is up. Anybody wishing to speak in favor of the proposal? Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition to the proposal? Anyone wishing to speak in favor of the proposal? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? I will close public comment and ask for council comment on the motion to approve 4,000 seats with a covered fixed structure. Mr. Poglace.
It's just a question as opposed to my motion?
This is going to be the last time we're going to speak. As soon as each of us speak, we're going to
Okay.
take a vote. So.
Great. The only thing I was going to do, because there were 4 questions asked of us, I think it goes hand in hand, the 2% rake, to get to that number of 4,000. Ms. Hagan, would you recommend I include that, amend the motion to include the 2% rake so we could answer that question? Because I think we've all seen the design, and the 2% rate absolutely seemed the correct way to go to get those seats within that covered roofing area. Or is that not necessary?
I think that was incorporated in the initial.
Well, I didn't say it, so I was
Well,
just.
yeah. This was just in case we went
Well, Micah asked the
elsewhere.
question, so I just didn't know if
Yeah.
you want, we can do that later. We can do it later. Sorry.
Honestly, you can vote. If you provide us direction, I will move forward on the direction. I don't need necessarily a vote on the rate.
Okay.
I understand what you've instructed me to do, and
Okay.
I mean, again, this is for them to proceed with the plans. We haven't seen the final plan that we're going to be approving. We don't know what the final cost is going to be. This is just to proceed, correct?
Yes, sir, but since this has been broken down into separate questions, I do recommend that if you're including the rake in this direction, that you might want to amend the motion to include that, because I think we do need to be clear about what you guys are telling us to go do. We have seen that be a problem in the past.
Okay.
All right.
Let me see.
So if you can get your seconder to approve the amendment.
Go ahead and move that. It's a 2% rate that you,
it's the gentle slope. The percentage is going to go up and down. I don't want to lock it in at a 2% because it's not going to necessarily be a 2% flat. It's the gentle slope is provided.
In other words, the concept of having it fairly flat with a little bit of a rake instead of a, tiered kind of effect, yes, I think we ought to include that.
The language in the staff report is generally consistent.
Yeah.
If that works for you.
so the motion is to approve a rate consistent with the staff report.
Yes.
And I'll amend my second to include that.
Is there a second to the motion to amend so that the motion includes a rate consistent with the staff report?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Anybody from the public to speak to the rate? Any comments, council? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion to amend is approved. Okay?
Was it 5-1? Or was it 5?
Unanimous.
Okay.
Okay? Closing comments? Nobody wants to make a comment?
Yeah.
Okay. Because go ahead.
Okay. So, there was a lot of data given to us, and there's a lot of reasons for our vote tonight. Main thing is to move things forward, and going back to the ULI report, which I know I've heard different things tonight about that, but it was in the report that we put something iconic. Gosh, I lost my page here, but in a performance pavilion from the beginning, from the ULI. So I think we are on track with that. I did contact the St. Augustine concert people as far as the number of seats. They started with 3,000, now they added 17 more hundred seats to that to be economically feasible. So that's why I think that we're going with that amount of seating, because that's what all the professionals are telling us to go with. So I'm glad we passed that and we can move on to some other decisions.
Well,
Mr. Hamilton.
as I said all up until today, you know, I was never locked in on a specific number. I mean, I can tell you, I mean, my brother is a former chair of the board of directors at Ruth Eckerd Hall. So he's been hammering me about 4,000 seats. And we've had some really good discussions about it. But, you know, to me, we've got to move this forward. We've got to get out of the starting blocks and get moving on something. We're giving direction tonight on a fixed roof, 4,000 seat, and now we've got something to work on, something to get concrete numbers and everything else. When that comes back to us, there may be sticker shock. There may be something, a need for further discussion when it comes back. But, you know, this is a very, the two points that I just can't get past is, number one, this is a very flexible development part of Imagine Clearwater. When there's not an event going on, there's going to be the opportunity for lots of different uses for it, everybody to enjoy it. And dovetailing off of that, the second point is the amphitheater is only part of Imagine Clearwater. There's a, you know, wonderful rest of the development of the entire property. So, you know, it's going to be, you know, like as was mentioned, and I've mentioned previously as well, this is the final product of this is something that is going to be enjoyed by residents and tourists alike for generations to come. I'm excited about it. I talk to a lot of different people, and, you know, I'm comfortable. 4,000 might not be the number I would definitely pick, but I'm comfortable moving forward on that number.
Mr. Kunda.
My first impression when I started attending events at Coachman Park were the chain link fences around. And it just gave me this feeling of a prison yard. I didn't like it. And I thought when we move into a new facility that we can do without those chain link fences, and I think we can in this facility. When I got onto the council 3 years ago, I learned that, and actually had to be on the stage a few times in Coachman Park, I realized that most of the events in Coachman Park were not on the Johnson Pavilion. They were on rented stages in front of the Johnson Pavilion, because the Johnson Pavilion was too small for the events that were going on there. And I realized that when we moved to the new facility on the green, that it had to be a larger facility, so we don't have to keep renting lights, renting stages, renting sound equipment, and so what we have here is an event that can hold up to 4,000 seats, but if we have a smaller audience, we can put up 1,000 seats or 2,000. As Mr. Hamilton said, it's a flexible area. And if we don't want any seats in there for a performance, we can do it that way as well. And so, to me, it doesn't make sense to build small and then wish we had something larger for larger events. I don't know if I should say it publicly, but the Florida Orchestra said they'd love to come back 20 times a year here to Clearwater. And who wouldn't want classical music and pops and all the things that they could provide to our audience? And so this covering will will be necessary. We had to pay the Florida Orchestra $12,000, was that last year, year before, because they got rained out. And if we had had this covering and a covered stage, we might not have had to do that. So I'm happy for it. Plan to vote. Did we already vote? No, it didn't vote. I'm planning to vote for it.
Mr. Poglace.
No comments.
So here we are. Late because we have done what people have asked us to do, and that is spend time considering the options before us. Those who spoke in opposition reminded us correctly that we did not talk about a covered pavilion. But information has been presented to us that maybe makes us change our minds, because we've looked at the data. We've looked at other facilities. I've struggled with that because many of you supported us because you saw only a new pavilion and you saw nothing else. You still aren't looking at the big picture. The big picture is the 66 acres that's Coachman Park, the Harborview Center, the parking lot, the tennis courts, and the land further to the south. When we have a function at Coachman Park now, Coachman Park gets closed down. There's nothing else for any of us to do. That is not going to be the case when the Imagine Clearwater plan is completed. You will still have the options to attend different events, functions, playground activities, and who knows what else in the park. So Coachman Park has always been an entertainment venue. It is not going to be run exclusively by Ruth Eckerd Hall. And quite frankly, I took offense at a comment that was made by a representative of Ruth Eckerd Hall who said that we had to pay attention to the needs of the community because of the economic benefit. Well, who's going to pay for that? And this was brought up. It's not going to be Ruth Eckerd Hall. It has been pointed out repeatedly to us that if we go from 3,000 to 4,000, that the city is not going to get that much of a benefit. The promoter will. But the city gains and benefits with the economic impact a viable park will have, a viable entertainment venue will have over the years. And this is our opportunity. It was pointed out to us that there are other venues like Ruth Eckerd Hall at 2,700. So why would we build an outdoor facility for 3,000 people when they could go indoors for the same thing? So that's why many of you reached the 4,000 figure before some of us did. But I think it is important for us to give staff that direction so that we can go forward. At the start, I mentioned how we are already behind our own timetable. And how many of you out there have criticized us because we haven't completed the park yet? We haven't completed the Imagine Clearwater plan yet. So this is the next step. And while it may not be what you want for one particular segment, how many acres?
66.
No. The
green is about 4 acres.
A little under 4, I think.
That's not even 10% of the park is going to be impacted. So continue to work with us. We're going to continue to work with you. And we're going to present and finalize a plan that when it's all over and completed, I think each one of us can be very proud of and can say, job well done. Motion has been made and seconded, and a motion's been made, seconded, and amended to include a fourth, to direct staff to proceed with 4,000. Oh, and one other thing. Do not forget that what we were originally talking about was 28 inches. And Mr. Pogles, thank you for bringing that up. The footprint was seats at 28 inches gave you 3,000 seats. By reducing the size of those seats and still providing what we were talking about, we may not exceed the original footprint that all of us have seen from day one. And I think that was, if nothing else has come out of that, that opened up my eyes as much as anything. So, Mr. Pogles, thank you for reiterating that. Motion's been made, seconded, and amended. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Now, before we adjourn, the other item that we at least need to bring up and keep in mind is the financial data that Mr. Maxwell has put together. And I'll let you present that because when they come back to us, this may have some impact.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mike Maxwell, Assistant City Manager. Before you is a breakout of the costs that we've estimated based on the amphitheater that Daryl showed you a little earlier in the program. Mr. Ravens, our finance director, was kind enough to help add in some debt service information for us if we end up bonding it. It would be about $1 million per year based on this design. Now, granted, this design was for the 3,000. We don't know how much that will affect it at this point, going to the 4. And we will know a lot more about the numbers when we get to the 30% schematic phase. But there's $1 million debt service. The repair replacement is at $520,000 per year. And then, of course, these operating numbers are the numbers that Mr. Webb provided us on Monday. So what I've shown here is basically the costs with bonding, which at the year 5 is 8.7 million. I'm 8.8 million roughly. And then on the lower one is without bonding is 3.8 million over the 5-year period as funds that we do not currently have budgeted. We were hopeful to add this into the general fund model. However, we did not have the time since Monday to try to plug that in and show the impact to the general fund over a long period of time. But we'll be able to do that at some point in the near future.
I'm going to ask for questions in 1 second. Mr. Maxwell, does that include, let's say, naming rights for?
No naming rights revenues in here or anything like that. We kept it to Mr. Webb's his operating number, and he did not include that information, and it does not include any dollars from the redeveloped properties.
And does that include for example, if we were to do a master plan for the bluff, is there some way that you can use funds from that development to help offset this cost?
So if you're talking about using the developable parcels on the upland,
Yes.
upland portion, we have intended to use those dollars against the overall cost. So that is not factored into this number. The appraised value of the properties that we have identified as developable is just under $20 million at current time. So, that may change to some level, we're not sure. The overall project cost for the remainder of the project outside of this is estimated at around $40 million. That was an early estimate from back early in October.
Are you proceeding with like an RFP or some plan so that we can get this out for the development now, or are you waiting, or what?
Well, we're going to be having in the next couple of weeks a conversation about the redevelopment strategy for the park. So at that time, we'll talk about some of the pros and cons. I think at our last work session, we had some conversation about talking about all of the different things that will affect our decisions as far as how we redevelop, whether we demo City Hall now or later, a number of different elements. So we're working on that presentation now to provide to you so that we can make some decisions about City Hall, about whether or not you do all the properties at the same time, about when you go to the voters, those sorts of things. So that is upcoming in the next couple of weeks.
Okay, because I think, Council, I think we need to start moving quickly down that path with some sort of at least a request so that we can get an idea, because I don't know about y'all, but that number scares me.
Well, not when you can, for me, no, because this is so early, the pro forma, I think there was a lot of numbers that are very questionable in the pro forma that was given to us. For myself, I've challenged several of them and found out they were incorrect. When I consider we've invested 10+ million in the Capitol Theater and people could sell used shoes there and everybody goes because it is such a popular destination, that number doesn't scare me. We make $10 to $15 million expenses in stormwater and everything else for the citizens. It doesn't scare me at this point. Let's put it that way. I think they're going to be generating and turning profits sooner than later in this park.
I hear you, but I also remember hearing that the Harborview Center was going to be a great convention center, and so enough said. Mr. Albritton.
Okay. Okay.
Well, anyway, this doesn't scare me as well because this is the raw cost. There's nothing, as was stated, about any kind of private money, fundraising, which there's going to be a lot of. And here's a quote that came back from the fellow, that Mr. Murphy, that's the manager of the St. Augustine, that we looked at because they had a similar starting. I asked him, I said, how was it originally funded? And he said, originally funded by some large local donors and organization, and then they ended up bonding. So, I mean, we could get a kickoff with a big part of this. With the bond, it really knocks it up. But if we don't bond, we might be able to pay for that with private funding. So, but yet you're right. These aren't the figures because we're still in the early stages of it. It gives us a guide, but I know that's going to change. It's going to fluctuate depending on how we get other figures back over the time. So, what was said tonight is, yes, think of the whole park. This is just a portion of it, but it's a key portion of it because it's not just the capital cost to build this. You got to be thinking about what's going to happen years down the road and the maintenance cost, even if it was just a park with nothing there. I mean, our maintenance cost on Coachman Park right now is over $1 million a year. And that goes on forever. So we need to find some way that we can pay for this expanded park, the maintenance and the upkeep and so forth going down the road. So
So we'll look forward to your report back to us.
Yeah, thanks. The last section that we had, and I was going to ask Kyle Steele from Stantec to come up and walk you through it, was the other elements of the park, which we have not talked about recently, but we want to see if these things are still consistent with how you want to move forward as we try to pull a work order together. Now, we don't have to have in-depth conversations about elements here. We would like to know if there are elements that you would like us to bring back and talk a little further about. But you know, your action on the amphitheater allows us to start constructing a work order, you know, to keep the ball rolling on work generally. But with that, Kyle's going to come on up and give you some information on this.
Kyle Steele, landscape architect, Stantec. Just as Mike had mentioned, we'll just kind of do a little refresher on the rest of the park. So, site plan. This was an image that was up earlier. The portions of the park really have remained the same. Nothing has changed from the original master plan. We've just sort of started to push the design a little bit forward to start to define some of the spaces and give them a little bit more character. Major components: the Civic Gateway, the Bluff Park North and South, Coachman Garden area, the green, and the lake area. So we'll start with the Civic Gateway. Again, this is sort of your front door into the park. It's composed mainly of a big plaza space here, opportunities to do some art, public gathering, a water feature to provide some relief from the urban environment, and then as well as the pavilion space, which is probably the main feature of the plaza itself. It's a covered meeting area, outdoor seating area. This space is connected to the bluff walk, so this elevation is the highest elevation at the same elevation as your current downtown. Moving through the Gateway Plaza, coming down a grand staircase, this will lead you into the park. This will be at the elevation of the green. This area, we would like to bring in some vegetation, provide some shade, as well as some seating. Again, this space would be used for gathering. It could be used for festivals in general. This is a perspective of the Gateway Plaza. From downtown, looking out over the park, you can see the fountain areas for seating. We will potentially, we will bring in art, something that makes a statement, as well as the pavilion there will also architecturally make a statement as well. So access to Bluff Walk North, which would take you up to the library, and then what you can't see here is a pedestrian bridge that would take you to the South Bluff Walk and the south portion of the park. Coachman Garden area. This area is really focused really on the citizens and the kids. Utilization of the library, spilling out onto the Bluff Walk, providing areas for seating, gathering, maybe a small outdoor space for a classroom, for readings, things like that. As we move down the bluff, providing some play elements, maybe some tree houses or ropes or some sort of bridges, kind of get you connected with nature and the large trees that currently exist. Also utilizing the slope for maybe some slides and some climbing nets up and down the bluff. At the bottom of the bluff, having 2 designated playground spaces, sort of providing diversity for age groups of children. In between, I lost my cursor, there we go. Maybe a covered space for the parents to sit and relax, to be out of the heat, as well as a splash pad for everybody to enjoy. And then transitioning through some major axes into a garden space. Again, kind of unite the community, bring them in for some garden, the topo in this area, maybe rolling hills, so you can display some of the gardens, as well as maybe some art in some areas with meandering pathways to kind of get a view and a feel. And then the terminus will be looking out, towards the marina, towards the water. So this is kind of a perspective looking back towards the library. where you can see some of the rolling hills and display gardens, some of the walkways through that could house some art. Splash pad area covering playgrounds on either side, and then some of the play elements that would engage the bluff, and then the bluff walk on top that's adjacent to the library. The south portion of the park is a little more passive in nature, kind of has some meandering walkways around a pond, some bridges and overlooks, maybe some gazebos, pavilions that are, just covered areas that kind of sit and reflect. Also, a main feature really is an extension of your urban fabric with the advent of the roadway and parking that kind of cuts through the space. Bluff Walk South, that would be a unifying connector for the development that may be happening at the City Hall site, as well as providing connectivity for the existing residents in Water's Edge. And then lastly, the parking, there's currently parking there. It would just be a slight improvement to that parking lot to work with the new setting of the south portion of the park. It's kind of a perspective looking back towards the green. You can see, maybe there's an area for ceremonial space or some gatherings, tents, shelters, some docks and some overlooks and bridges, and then again, just emphasizing the meandering pathways around the pond. That's it.
So those are the elements themselves. The comments, some of the comments that we've heard from various members of the council or the public relate to the Civic Gateway area. What's going on there? Keeps moving. The Civic Gateway, there's been conversation about whether or not the Shade Pavilion should be either resized or pulled back towards Cleveland or Osceola. I've heard some comments about whether or not we should have the bridge itself going over Cleveland Street. And I've heard some comments about this area and whether or not we continue to carry it through all the way, this is very jumpy, sorry, through all the way to, from Osceola all the way around to Pierce Street or reorient that in some manner. Those are things I've heard generally, but if you have other comments and if those are areas where you'd like to see us explore something further, we certainly are here to listen.
Can you go back to the overall?
Sure.
Yeah. Are y'all looking at taking Drew Street all the way around to Pierce?
No.
Okay.
We have not to this point at the very least. That's the first comment I've heard about that.
Okay. And Ms. Aiken, a question for you. If somebody wanted to put some sort of a paid attraction there, does that have to go back to referendum or?
Without knowing where the there is, I would say yes. Assuming it's down below Osceola or below, yes, it would.
Right now, the splash pads, did you say a merry-go-round or?
Nope.
No, okay.
Well, I mean, playground equipment.
Playground, okay.
So
So all of that is free?
that's allowed in that area.
Yeah. And that's allowed, okay?
It
But
is.
if a commercial entity wanted to come in with something, then it has to go back to referendum?
Yes, sir. If you wanted a business down there, or a structure other than those that have already been specifically permitted, yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Albritton?
What I'd like to see is the other plan that you showed me with that parking at the end of Cleveland Street where it goes through to Pierce. You had another plan that showed that not there, that gave a lot more park space.
We did have some, in response to some of those comments, I believe it was Daryl and Kyle put together some alternatives.
Yeah.
There it is.
So you have a cul-de-sac at the end of Cleveland for buses to pull around and then drop people off, pick them up, come back out. And then you put the parking down closer to
Yes, this version shifts the parking over to this area, connecting it with the parking that already exists, which supports the marina to a large degree. This version is a net zero parking scenario, though there are parking spaces along Cleveland that are still shown here that if it was a limited access drive, would have to probably go away. They would, you could have something there, but it would have to be for emergency vehicles and things like that.
Maybe it's one meeting we could, or 101s or something, we can get a choice and look at that. I prefer this model because it gives more green area. And then it does show a smaller cutback portion of the Civic Pavilion gateway area, which we talked about, which gives Water's Edge a better view. Where that other pavilion, if they extend it down, I think
This pulls back to some level from around here back to here, and the Civic Gateway, the shade pavilion, and then actually reduces the size of it as well, so it doesn't. So it's not as large, and it does not go as far out to the west. Now this bridge, this pedestrian bridge, remains here, coming off grade at this point. That's correct, Corey. Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, David, you know?
Mr.
So,
Public.
reference the pedestrian bit, and yeah, I've heard several of those complaints about the Civic Gateway being so enormous. And I like the seated area, everything there, but now since the elevated walkway has been moved further to the west, it is at that grade, or is it still elevated?
I don't believe it's going to the west. I think it's extending to the east. This piece right here,
Yeah.
is the new piece.
And what's the elevation on that? Is it still goes over Cleveland Street?
It's still over, yes. Yeah, same elevation, correct? Yeah.
So the difference between the last plan and this plan, just because we can't move the bridge further to the east because of the residents that are there, we had to add a little leg here to actually get to connect to the upper plaza. So the area you see that's Osceola and the upper part of the Gateway Plaza is all at the same elevation as the bridge that goes over Cleveland and connects to the upper elevation of the bluff on the south. So there's really no difference other than this little section that is needed to connect to a minimized footprint of the Shade Plaza area.
Why does it have to go over Cleveland Street, since that's really that's a pedestrian street there at that point, correct? Isn't that a pedestrian walkway?
Cleveland?
Yeah, right there.
Cleveland would be used in this scenario of this concept would just be used really as a turnaround and drop off for people that may be using the park, or if there's an event of that nature. Certainly, we can study an option where that bridge is removed and there's an at-grade crossing, so it would be Lower Plaza crossing through a crosswalk of sorts. And then, as you can see here, as an alternative, if that is gone, this section may go away, and we would use a ramp system to get up the bluff to the portion of South Bluff Walk.
It would basically separate the north and south bluff walks. It would sever those two, removing the pedestrian bridge.
I'll tell you why I like what you just described. There are several components of that elevated walkway. I love every aspect of everything, but I worry about overcrowding and too many pedestrians on that bridge during certain times, and I think you know where I'm going with this. And in addition to that, the Water's Edge folks have been great partners in this whole process. And that elevated bridge, though it's at parking deck level, it raises them to potentially glass level of living quarters. So that is a concern that I have, as well as unintended consequences of an elevated walkway there. So I'm in favor of at least looking at another option for that.
Sure. That's understandable. Again, this was a part of the original master plan.
Right, and I understand.
So we could definitely study that as moving forward for sure.
Do I have the floor, or was I just, could I ask another question? Okay. So if we could just take that same thing and zoom in, that same diagram right there. So I had a question, there's two more questions I have. Load in, load out for artist trailers. Just refresh my memory and show me where that's going to happen. Is that going to happen, the turnaround at Cleveland or the end of Drew?
It's the end of Drew.
The end of Drew, they'll come in between the trees and the
They won't turn
alleys.
around at the end of Drew, they turn around behind the pavilion itself. There's a,
Okay.
For, you're talking about for the amphitheater?
Yeah.
Yeah, so if I can get the cursor back, here we go. So they would come in off of Drew, they would follow a pattern here.
Got it.
They would then loop around back
Okay.
in,
Perfect.
and then,
Perfect. So it's just hard to visualize how much width between those islands. So
Yeah.
that's great.
it's an
Perfect.
appropriate width to move the trucks, but
Right.
we would want to 100% make certain that this looks like a pedestrian area first and foremost, and that it would just receive the truck traffic when necessary, when required.
So that's going to be like architectural concrete. That's not going to be.
Yeah,
paved,
something,
right?
yeah, something very decorative. Like I said, we want to make it look pedestrian oriented. It
Right.
just so happens that it could
Got it.
service the trucks when needed.
Right. Got it. And then another question, and it actually kind of goes with the revenue, which we're not there, the F&B. So I think where we're going to end up, at least where I'm going to be going, is with a blend of food and beverage, because you have festival type food and beverage situation, and then you have these 4-hour concert shows, high school graduations, all those things where I think the food and beverage is going to look very different. So I see a blend where the city may hire a concessionaire for these 4-hour events. But then I also see for our festivals where we have a food offering not too different than what we have now, 25, 30 different food vendors locally offer it to our downtown businesses to come downtown, put a tent. Where is that currently designed in case that it looks like that?
Right, so not knowing exactly size and scale and how much it's really going to be, what I would suggest is that the perimeter of the green, the lawn portion, the standing portion, would have concessions near the backside perimeter, so along this area here.
Okay.
If you needed to spill out because you have more, or you wanted to assign VIPs a certain area or something like that, I would suggest that this area over here, that hardscape area that's just outside, we're kind of steering the VIP area of the building, that would service some additional. So there's space to move around as you see fit per event, as you described.
And this would be designed on concrete as well because beer trucks weigh a lot. Okay.
Yeah,
Exactly.
if you're bringing in trucks like that, yes, for sure. We want them to be back here towards the back of house because we will have the capability, because we're already supplying that with being able to move the truck traffic for the event in. But if you're talking like, tents and smaller concessions, I would suggest being right there on the green, easily accessible for the patrons.
Diverse mix is great. Last question. The very first slide that everything was identified in the Imagine Clearwater Master Plan had letters, A, B, C, D, E. It's the playground garden area.
Okay, where's the?
Playground garden area. F. It's labeled F. Now, the downtown library is, that's currently one of the ongoing discussions for increasing capacity and use of that library. And when we start talking about redeveloping the waterfront bluff, there's a portion.
That's not the one.
Yeah, that's not the right slide.
That's not the one either. There it is. That's it.
That'll
No,
work. Yeah, that's it, because F is defined there. That was it.
Well, yeah.
So there's a portion of the geographical footprint of the where the building does not stand, but to the northwest a little bit, right around in the F area where there's currently an elevated deck. We're going to have discussions in the future about what to do with the rest of the library, not only the grass footprint, but the rooftop. But what exactly is that F right there? That's not part of the library, is it?
No.
This is the deck right here.
That's what we're looking
Where's
at.
that's the deck.
Yeah,
That's the restaurant.
We've heard rumors of maybe a restaurant coming in that space. That's where that is.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that wasn't
Yeah.
identified as, what is F, by the way?
F is actually a restroom facility.
Okay.
And that's a code compliant thing, having a restroom facility within a certain amount of feet from a splash pad.
Got it.
And also just because you're gonna need restrooms. So.
Okay.
We're going to be revisiting some of the library conversations. We sort of put the pause on it when we started the conversation about the covered amphitheater because of the potential impacts to the library. So, we've got some direction. We're going to come back to the library, revisit some of the things we talked about there and see where we end up on.
So we're going to start juggling more than one ball at a time?
Yes, but a lot of the work has been done on that one.
Okay. Let's go back to Mr. Albritton's. Well,
Repeat that again?
yeah, where you were looking at where the new
The
park.
other,
The Scaleback Civic Gateway.
the other,
So do you need direction from us, or are you going to go, whether we like this plan or the other plan to come back? I mean, what?
Well, I think if a majority of the council would like us to further explore these areas, then we'll dedicate some time to doing that. If you
I'm
prefer.
definitely for revisiting the Civic
Okay.
Gateway area.
Okay. All right, why don't you at least look at that? Because I tend to agree with, if you can get rid of the walkway bridge and make it at grade, if that's doable. I think that's what y'all were saying, right?
To remove the bridge?
Well, isn't that what one?
Yeah, I believe that's what Kyle had explained as possibly how you could maybe accomplish that.
To accomplish that explanation I gave earlier, yeah, that's how we would.
But council, I need us to be conscious of nobody is guaranteed a view. We had that conversation with people on the beach who were complaining about a view, and we reminded them they're not guaranteed a view. And so, as much as you may want to accommodate the people at Water's Edge, they're not guaranteed a view either.
That was just actually one piece of it. I understand.
So what?
Just be conscious of how you phrase what you want to phrase.
I think because it would sever the two, the north and south bluff, what we would do is look at some different design options and then come back and explain how we believe that it affects the plan overall, much like we did with some of the green conversation, just to dig deep into the plan and make sure we're not missing some elements. So that would be part of that conversation as well.
And what I don't see here, I'm looking straight down on something that has a giant hill. And I would love to see a perspective, maybe looking down the street from Cleveland as to what the bridge looks like. Because that would help me figure out on what elevation that bridge is compared with the.
We have some of those. I can provide those.
That would be very helpful.
3Ds would be great.
We do, we have
Elevation,
those.
We have some rough studies of that.
Yeah, we sure do.
Okay? We done? Okay, council?
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Maxwell?
Good. Yep.
All right. Thank y'all. Ms. Silverboard, do you have anything else further for
No,
us?
sir, I do not.
Okay, closing comments, Mr. Hamilton.
Well, I'm glad to see that we're, getting out of the starting blocks and moving forward. As I walked into the library tonight for this meeting, looking to our south and seeing the Harborview Center continuing to disappear, I'm very disappointed that through the process of demolishing Harborview that we have not uncovered the vault that has all the cash from that cash cow that it was supposed to be. I thought maybe when we tore it down we'd find that vault, but we did not. So I'm disappointed in that, but I'm excited about the future. Thank you.
Mr. Albritton.
Well, I've been looking forward to this for years, seeing that Harborview come down, because it's going to be an amazing view from downtown. To look out over the park and actually have the park be part of downtown, which it never has been. It's always been the park, and it's a separate place, even though it's right there because of the huge building in the way. So I think We did study the vote we took today was a long time coming, a lot of effort, a lot of input was in there, a lot of discussion, and I think we're moving the right direction. Now we can start looking at the rest of this beautiful park and get some things moving that I'm really looking forward to getting things moving on it.
Mr. Poglace.
It's been a long, difficult process, but I'm glad we're here. We've reached this point. I would suggest, and I've had a lot of involvement in Coachman Park over the years, doing festivals and Relay for Life. It's 66 plus acres now that's rarely used, especially by citizens unless it's an organized event or a show. I would suggest to you that at the end of this process, whether we're done in 5 years building it, however long it takes to get this done, it will be a proud place for every single citizen of Clearwater. It will be a companion destination for our residents and tourists alike on the other side of the bridge. It's going to be that driver that ignites Osceola. It's going to be the driver that actually makes it downtown, that no matter where you live in Clearwater, you're going to want to come to go. You're going to want to come. You're not going to have to go to Dunedin or St. Pete. You'll be able to take an Uber or take the Jolly Trolley to come to your downtown. So I'm happy we're finally here at this point. Thank you.
Mr. Cundiff.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to thank everyone who has had a part and a say in the process on the vote this evening, whether you were for it or against it. We need your input, and we do appreciate all the comments, both pro and con. We have to weigh these things, and if we don't have your input, we're not able to do that. And so stay involved and put your 2 cents worth in. It doesn't mean your opinion or my opinion will prevail, but we work together to get a consensus. And I'm not going to be around in 25, 50 years. A few of you won't be either. But little kids that we know now will be. And we have to provide something for them, don't we? The future. And I can see this park with all of its, with the lakes and with the playgrounds and with the walkways and the music venue, the entertainment venue, and the green, which is going to be multi-purpose and huge. I can see a lot of different people, not just outsiders, use it. But and I like what the mayor has said in the past, that it's going to be our second neighborhood if we don't live in this neighborhood, and our second park if this isn't the park closest to where we live. And thank you all for your input. Appreciate it very much.
Well, thank you, Mr. Cundiff, because you stole some of what I was going to say. This is going to be our second neighborhood. Don't lose sight of what the entire Imagine Clearwater plan is. And I think some of us have done that. We focus too much on one aspect. You're going to like the finished product when it's completed, and it will become your second neighborhood. I want to thank those who were here tonight. I want to thank my colleagues, because I want y'all to understand, they have studied this issue and have looked at this issue from lots of different perspectives. And they deserve your appreciation for the work that they've done, and I want to thank them for pursuing this, staying on top of this, and realizing that it is going to take a team effort, all of us pulling together, the community pulling together, staff working with us to get this done. So, gentlemen, thank you all very much. I also want to take a moment to thank, on behalf of all of us, our staff that worked so hard on putting together Neighborhoods Day. There were like 35 different events that we got criticized because we didn't go to all 35 of them, but I think on the whole, we covered every one of the events. Everybody had a good time, and it showed that Clearwater truly was bright and beautiful from the bay to the beach. So I want to thank everybody for doing that. Other good news, the two chambers of commerce, the Clearwater Regional Chamber of Commerce and the Clearwater Beach Chamber of Commerce has announced that they're going to combine their forces and work as one starting in January of 2020. That is good news, not only for the business community, but I think it's good news for all of Clearwater. So on behalf of all of us, I want to thank the two chambers, their presidents, their chairmen of the board, and staff and members of the board of directors for making this happen. I want to thank Mayor Julie Bujalski of Dunedin, who graciously wore a Phillies jersey at their city council commission workshop on Tuesday. I forgot to bring the trophy that the Phillies won for us. I sent a copy of it to the Phillies up in Philadelphia and told them I hope this is only the first of many trophies they win this year. So we'll see what happens with that. The Threshers are going to start playing at Spectrum Field this weekend. The Dunedin Blue Jays are going to be playing at Jack Russell Stadium while work is being done at the complex in Dunedin to upgrade that stadium. So be mindful that Jack Russell Stadium will now be used for the Dunedin Blue Jays Class A Florida State League team this year. Want to again remind you that our next meeting is going to be the work session on April the 15th and our city council meeting on the 18th. The spring break park and ride and the Clearwater Ferry are all continuing extra service to the beach between now and April the 30th. Mr. Pogle's mentioned Relay for Life, another event that takes place in Coachman Park. That will be tomorrow, actually, starts tomorrow and runs through Saturday. Paint Your Heart Out Clearwater will be on Saturday, April the 6th. Volunteers are coming together to paint 12 different homes in the city of Clearwater. The Clearwater Police Department is going to play the Largo Police Department in a charity softball game at Spectrum Field. That game is going to be at 3:30 on Saturday, April the 6th. The Sugar Sand Festival begins on April the 12th and will run through April the 28th. Obviously, there's sunsets at Pier 60, events at our libraries and our rec centers throughout the next couple of weeks. We encourage you to support those programs, and again, remind you that we will see you back here on Thursday, April the 18th at 6 o'clock. Thank you for your attention, and thank you for giving us part of your evening tonight. We are adjourned.